Sports Talk coming to you on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Another beautiful day here in the capital city of Kansas. Jake LeBon, Brandon Dorzinski, Dan Lucero with you. We will be chatting all things Chiefs, Jets, a little romance. We will hear from Patrick Mahomes, who did finally get to meet Taylor Swift. We will hear from Andy Reid. We will have our athletes of the week. We'll talk with Tim Fitzgerald. We got a lot of stuff leading you into Royals baseball. Royals lost yesterday, took it on the chin.
Streak is over.
They got 5 games left. They got to get some dubs if they don't want to go to 107.
I'm a little upset they blew that one for Greinke. 5 shutout innings and 1 pitch away from getting out of the 6th clean, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
We all said we weren't going to watch Royals baseball. I happened to have it on for that exact moment when
did you
the 2-0 lead got away.
That's a bummer.
We were between shows. My wife and I at that point. We had watched an episode of something, and we were debating whether or not we could watch another episode of something else before my wife fell asleep. The answer to that's usually no.
It's always usually no. Why is it that my wife? It's about ready to go to time to go to bed, right? Where we're if we're on the couch, and I'll just tell her, go to bed. Don't fall asleep on the couch. Walk up and go to bed. That way you can just start your deep sleep, right? You go to bed. No, I'm not going to fall asleep. 2 minutes later, she's asleep, and I'm just like, why didn't you just go to bed?
See, my wife is the opposite.
She actually just get up and go to bed.
She
usually that's smart.
She usually gets ready for bed around 10. Some nights she has to go into the office the next day. She'll get to bed by about 9:45. So if it's 9:15, she's got to go to bed before 10. And I'm like, yep, something's on for an hour. You want to put it on? She'll go, no, I'm good. I'm going to go to bed soon anyway.
No, Lindsay will fall asleep right there on the couch.
My wife, her chosen profession, some days more exhausting than others.
Yeah.
And there will be times we don't even make it through the first episode of the thing we pick.
Do you have to rewatch it?
I don't. She gets home a couple hours before I do. I bet she will probably rewatch the final 10 minutes of the most recent Only Murders in the Building episode that she fell asleep during yesterday.
This has been Sleep Talk in the evening with our wives.
I will say we did cram in the most recent episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City before Abby went to bed last night.
I can't deal with that, man. I can't.
We talk about how athletes live in a different world than we do. And when you talk about athlete money, you really can't compare it to normal person money. That's not even a fraction of the way to the different planet that these women live on. It is
nuts.
It's insane. They went on a weekend girls trip, and one woman brought her own makeup girl with her, paid for her flight and room just to have her sit in her hotel room and just wait to do her makeup for 2 days.
My wife went on a weekend trip with the girls to Missouri, and they got a 3-bedroom Airbnb, and they brought air mattresses.
Yeah, it's just so I can't do it.
Ooh, that's a $40 bottle of wine. Living it up this weekend, girls.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's how I feel when I get extra guac at Chipotle.
We got lots to get to today. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on the text line 785-272-9429. Go to YouTube, type in 580 Sports Talk. You can interact with us live on our YouTube stream if you'd like to. Hit us up in the comments section. Follow us on Twitter as well.
New angle of Dan's face today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Looking good, Dan.
Hi guys.
Looking good.
You get a top down angle, a little more flattering to me, I think.
There's nothing more flattering. I have no flattering view. It was my good side. I ain't got one of those. Let's be real. That's why I'm on the radio. Come on, guys. As Rick Peterson often jokes, Jake, you got a voice for print too. So I got a face for radio and a voice for print. You ever heard that? Oh man, Gene Castle and Rick Peterson blast me with that all the time. Yeah, you got a face for radio.
Yeah, Brendan and I know both of them well. They've never said that to me.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. You guys look good.
Not to my face anyway.
You guys. We got a lot to get to. We will talk about Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Y'all, it's official. They are full on an item. Travis Kelce kind of mentioned that today on his New Heights podcast. We'll get to that, much to the chagrin of one Brennan Dworzynski.
Not to my chagrin. I will concede the floor.
We will start things off with the matchup that I was and still am most interested in this game coming up on Sunday for the Chiefs and the Jets. The Jets won't score more than 17 points. And to me, 17 points is like the max that they can score. Okay. They brought back Trevor Siemian. Like, he's now on, he's their third string quarterback. If the answer is Trevor Siemian, you're in a bad situation asking questions. Okay.
I hope that answers our first question today from the text line 785-272-9429. Are the Jets Super Bowl bound now that Trevor Siemian is with them? I think we're all in agreement there that they're going to need a little more than Trevor Siemian.
Yes. But the matchup that was exciting, even with or without Rodgers, was the Jets defense. And the Jets defense is still really, really good. I don't know if they're, dominant, but they are really, really good. And the Chiefs offense started to make things work a little bit more against the Bears, but it was the Bears defense, and their defense is terrible. But this probably talent-wise is one of the best defenses in the NFL, specifically against the pass. I think their secondary is very good. Sauce Gardner, really, really good. Shout out to K-State product. Oh my gosh, DJ Reid, who is an underrated corner in my opinion.
Yeah, good player.
He's a good player.
Good player.
Their pass rush is better than average. I think the Chiefs have a better pass rush than the Jets do. I do. I think the Chiefs pass rush honestly is a top 10 pass rush. Their pass rush has gotten a lot better. One, Karlaftis is. Do you know that George Karlaftis, if you go with the last 6 games of last year plus the start of this year, like a total of 8 games, almost half a season, he's on pace for 12 sacks. 12. Can you imagine 12 sack George Karlaftis plus 12 sack Chris Jones and Mike Dana, what he's been able to do?
When was the last time the Chiefs had 2 double-digit sack guys? You have to go back to
Holly in Houston, probably. Maybe.
That would be my guess.
Because they've Chris Jones has been the guy for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Clark never sniffed double-digit sacks, I don't think, with the Kansas City Chiefs, at least in the regular season. If you combine the postseason, maybe, but not in the regular season. So I look at this Jet defense, and I think they are better in the secondary because I think they got one of the better ones. I think they're good at linebacker. And this, to me, is going to be the best test for this Chiefs offense. It really, really will be. And if they're able to put up points on a Jets team, more specifically, if they're able to throw it, because we do know that the Chiefs wide receivers are a little bit young, a little bit green, hasn't been as fluid as we've hoped it would be. If you're able to do that against this Jets team, then I think you're feeling really good about where the Kansas City Chiefs are after 4 weeks.
For what it's worth, and this is not the only metric worth taking a look at, but for what it is worth, the Jets are graded by ESPN's pass rush win rate stat, 12th best pass rush win rate in the NFL. They're winning their assignments at a 49% clip. That's 12th best in the league.
That sounds about right. They're not great, but they're not, terrible.
Can you guess, either of you, where the Chiefs fall?
I would think that they're better than that, but maybe it's just and it might be like the difference. They might be like 26th, but as a combined unit, this Chiefs defense has been pretty good because no one's really throwing it on them. No one's really run it on them.
Yeah, I wouldn't even hazard a guess because it's so hard to know how that stat is evaluated.
But I can see them being really good. I really can. I can also see them not being great because I've seen times where the quarterbacks sit back there, but the reason they can't complete any passes is because McDuffie and Snead are locking the guys up and they have nowhere to throw. Like, this Chiefs defense has to me one superstar and then one budding star in McDuffie, and then everybody else is above average. They don't got the dude, right? The Chargers got more dudes, Mack and Bosa and Derwin James and those guys, but everyone else.
But they've got some weak links.
But they got a lot of weak links. So I have
the Chiefs are running a Daniel Sorensen out there for 75% of their snaps.
No,
it doesn't.
Okay, so what are you going to? I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say they're ninth.
Ninth in pass rush win rate.
Yeah,
I'm going to say. I'm just going to take a safe guess and say they're in the middle of the league, 16th.
Jake, you got one numeral right.
They're 19th.
They are
29th.
Wow. So that to me says on the positive side, when they get to the quarterback, they're finishing the play. They're hitting him, they're forcing incompletions, they're sacking him. They have different websites will give you a different number for pressures. They grade them differently. Pro Football Reference has the Chiefs right now 8 sacks in 34 pressures. That's almost every 4 pressures they're getting a sack.
That's efficient.
That is efficient.
The problem is that's not getting there a lot.
That's also not especially sustainable in terms of efficiency. You're usually not looking at numbers that high unless you're like a truly great defense. And yeah, it also says you're not getting there all that often. That's about 11 pressures per game, which isn't a ton. Now, it does help to have a great secondary, and that's why football stats are different than baseball stats, in which there's always a counter. There is always that they're not getting home all that often. Yeah, but they don't need to because the guys on the back end are locking down opposing receivers. That makes things easier for the defensive line, et cetera, et cetera. But what is interesting for the discussion of what is the Chiefs offense going to do against the Jets defense, can you guess where the Chiefs pass block win rate is against pressure? How often are the Chiefs offensive linemen as a unit winning their assignments?
Oh, the offensive line's doing well.
Yeah, I think they got to be top 10 in the league.
I'd say top 5.
Number 1.
Yeah, they're really
76%.
Mahomes doesn't get I think the game against I saw it on the what is it? The fancy stats, the fancy stuff.
PFF Focus.
No. Next Gen Stats.
Next Gen
Stats said that this was the cleanest Mahomes has ever been in the game against the Bears.
I believe it.
Yeah, there have been a lot of pass plays where he's had, the pocket is not breaking down immediately. I'm hard pressed to remember too many examples other than against Aiden Hutchinson week 1, and he's the best pass rusher they faced by far. But I'm hard pressed to remember a lot of times when Mahomes had the pocket breakdown immediately.
Can I, real quick, I know we're talking about the Chiefs here specifically. Can I make and the Chiefs offense? Can I make a comment about the Jets offense?
Sure.
So
it's germane. The Jets play the Chiefs.
Ben Baldwin is a football writer, data analyst. Used to write for The Athletic. I don't know that he still does.
He's a
big
nerd.
Big nerd. I find him to be, as a person, extremely obnoxious. Like,
correct.
Kind of
that. Yeah. He really likes he trolls people.
Yeah, he loves to needle you and tell you that you're dumb if you don't agree. But I think the information he aggregates is very useful, very interesting.
Yes.
He every week puts out a thread on Twitter of like 15 different stats every week, keeps track of them. One of them is for offensive series results. How often for every team in the league, when they take the field to start a drive on 1st and 10, do they earn a new set of downs or score? So how often on each drive are you moving the chains or putting points on the board? The Jets are last in the league.
A lot of 3 and outs.
The Chiefs, by the way, are 6th in the league right now. 76% of the time, first down or touchdown.
And normally they're number 1. Normally they never go 3 and out. Like they're always getting at least one set first down.
And like the Chiefs right now, 76%. The second place Bills are 78%. There is a
Dolphins number 1.
Yes, the Dolphins are number 1. Like right now, with only 3 games in the books, these numbers are close. They'll spread out over time. The Jets are at 55%. Almost half of the time the Jets take the field to go 3 and out. Not even pick up a first down and then punt. Just 3 and out. 55%.
So that says to me that if the Jets are going to be competitive Sunday night against the Chiefs, they're going to have to do it with their defense. They're going to have to flip the field with a pick or a strip sack, something like that. We've seen the numbers say that Mahomes has not been pressured to the level that generates those strip sacks. And like the Jets have Like they've got a stud at all three levels of the
Really
defense.
good.
You get Quinnen Williams on the D line. You got C.J. Mosley at linebacker. You got Sauce Gardner on the outside at corner. But they don't have like this accumulation of pass rush talent. Like they're not like last year's Eagles or anything like that, where I think they're going to make the evening really hard on Mahomes. So essentially it's going to be, ball security through the air, catch it when it's thrown to you, that kind of thing. Those are the things that the Chiefs are going to have to do. If they avoid turnovers, it's hard to see the Jets marching it down the field. And it might lead to a more conservative approach from the Chiefs in a way that could frustrate some people, because the Chiefs will be happy to, if they're like 4th and 1 at like the 38, okay, fine, we'll punt it. You're not going 80, 90 yards on our defense.
Who's the next best pass rusher behind Quinnen Williams?
On that team?
Yeah. By the way, he doesn't have a sack yet in 3 games. But he's really good. We know that.
No, he's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
We know that.
Well, they drafted not
the fact that you can't
Jeremiah Jackson last year, but he hasn't been like
Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
Like
the fact
who's
that
Jeremiah Jackson.
Great question.
But the fact that you don't know who it is right off the top of your head tells you that at least it's not well known enough to be on the tip of your tongue.
Their team leader in sacks right now is Quentin Jefferson.
Yeah,
he's a journeyman. Journeyman defensive lineman
who plays next to Quinnen Williams, which actually makes a modicum of sense that you got to put a lot of attention on Quinnen Williams, so who's got 6 pressures. Like he's getting in there, he's making plays, he's just not sacking
guys you've heard of. Like John Franklin Myers was on that Rams Super Bowl team.
Solomon
Thomas was a top 5
pick.
He stinks.
He's not a good player.
He's been in the league forever.
Al Woods has been in the league.
Yeah, he's been in the
forever.
Carl Lawson's been around, former Bengal. He's been around.
They got guys you've heard of, but it has not generated a lot of consistent. They've only got 1 sack the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, they ate in the opener against who were they playing in the opener? The Monday night game.
Bills.
They played the Bills.
Yeah, because their Bills O-line stinks.
Yeah, they ate in the opener. They sacked Dak Prescott once, and they sacked Mac Jones 0 times.
Yikes.
I'm more interested in the Chiefs wide receivers against their secondary.
I was just about to say the same thing.
That's what I want to know, because even Mahomes referenced, hey, last year I had Juju who'd figure out a way. And if you don't understand the nuance of the Chiefs game and the Chiefs offense, so much of it is on the understanding of defenses and what to do. Perfect example is in the game yesterday on Sunday. Rashee Rice runs a deep kind of dig curl, if you will. He stopped at the end of his route because he thought this was where the opening was going to be. And that was the one that went off his hands a little too far because he hesitated and then curled. That's one where he doesn't know that, hey, I need to keep going because there's more room in front of me than there is behind me. Mahomes sees that. Mahomes knows everything now. Like, that's the great thing about having a quarterback who was awesome when he didn't know anything, and now he's awesome and he knows everything. You saw that a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster knows to keep going because nobody's in front of him. Well, Rice doesn't know that yet. So that is the miss there. And then the other aspect on someone who knows the defenses and knows what's open, whether you are in the red zone and there's 4 yards of difference, or the fact that Travis Kelce didn't run the route that he was supposed to for the touchdown. That's what I love about the franchise on for the Chiefs. He runs to the open area. He's like, and Mahomes was like, I didn't know if you were going to see it, but you saw it. I know you were going to go. Oh, and it was like 2 nerds nerding out during a game. This is the red zone. The field is compacted. He was supposed to run a corner route. He saw the linebacker sneak that way and is like, that's not going to be open. All is while he is running with this was made within a tenth of a second. And he just reverts, goes to the other side. Mahomes sees it because Mahomes knows where everybody's at because he's brilliant. And then he just, lightly floats it over the linebacker and it's a touchdown. And then they're just going crazy going, I didn't know if you were going to see it or not. Like, that's the difference between Rice and Kelce, and Mahomes knows what everybody's going to be doing. And it was wide open for a touchdown. Like, nobody else does that. Nobody else does that. That's the difference. but they're going to be going up against really good cover corners.
Really good corners.
That's interesting to see.
And a good linebacker group, too. Quincy Williams, C.J. Mosley. Those are your linebackers, really, that aren't rush ends.
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
What Kelsey and Mahomes were talking about.
You play that long together, too.
Awesome.
You kind of get that sixth sense working with each other. But no, this is the kind of game where if they're not, you've got an okay but somewhat no-name pass rush other than Quinnen Williams against right now the best pass blocking offensive line in the league per at least one
and
stat.
it's up the middle where you got Smith, Tooney, and Creed.
Right.
And the defensive
you've got
ends
reinforcement there.
Like, I'm way more concerned about a slightly above average end than I am,
good interior guy.
Quinnen Williams. Like, I'm not, I would be.
But you need those guys to know, because as we always say, as many people who analyze football always say, eventually you can't cover guys for 6 seconds every single play. Like it just doesn't work like that. Guys are running comebacks, they're coming back to the ball, they're working open spaces, whatever. It's just a matter of these Chiefs receivers doing the right thing. Because if they do with this offensive line, you should have plenty of opportunities to move the ball.
Which receiver do you think the Chiefs sacrificed to Sauce Gardner would be my question. Because Sauce is one of those guys, he's so good one-on-one. He'll take a guy man. Who do the Chiefs leave on that side of the field?
Do you think they'll send him to follow someone?
Not necessarily. I just think they'll.
Will they always put someone to that side and just say, let's see what you can do? I mean, honestly, you want to know what they should do? Just run a go route every play and just eliminate him.
Clear him out.
Eliminate him. So then you've got everybody on one side. If they're playing man, obviously. If they're playing man, just run him off.
Well, yeah, I mean, the risk you run with that is they switch things up and
correct.
Send safety high.
And I feel like the Chiefs are smart enough to understand that. Honestly, the guy that I would just say adios would be MVS. Because low-key, I think Justin Watson right now is a above average. And I've said this.
It's week 4. I'm taking my victory lap. I told you guys.
The one thing that Justin Watson does is he is reliable. He's like that old pickup that starts every time. And that's why Patrick Mahomes throws it to him. To me, I would probably use the MVS in this situation. I think the guy who has a chance to have a huge game is Rice. Like, he is starting to get more and more integrated in the office. And if you look at the amount of snaps he gets versus the amount of targets, it's high. When he plays, Mahomes is looking for him.
Well, it's like Juju last year, right? Where there's areas of the field that open up for you when a threat like Travis Kelce is on the field, because Kelsey's naturally going to draw attention from the safeties and from the linebackers. And that's going to open up some space in the middle of the field. Well, whoever's willing to work those spaces and take those yards is going to have opportunities. And certainly against the Bears, that was Rashee Rice. And if he continues to be in that role, he could be in for a big day. By the way, real quick, I know we got to go to break, but we asked the question, we may as well answer it. Last time the Chiefs had 2 double-digit sack guys on the team same year, actually 2018, Chris Jones and D Ford.
D Ford, yeah. Contract year D Ford, yeah.
D Ford, what do you have, 10?
He had 13.
13.
And Jones had 15. Houston and Holly each had 11 in 2013.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I forgot about D Ford. That's what you get when try to erase
55 and he was offside.
Yeah, that's the case.
By the way, real quick, because while we're going long into the break anyway, regarding Sauce Gardner,
just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Regarding Sauce Gardner, who I think is a really good player, what do you think his passer rating allowed is when targeted this year?
Probably high. Let's say like 108.
Got a guess?
Either 108 or like 30.
Yeah, 88.
He has been targeted 15 times. He has allowed 12 catches for 119 yards and a touchdown. 122. Ooh. And against his best grade his lowest rating allowed this year was last week against the Patriots and Mac Jones.
Stink.
Against the Cowboys, 126.5, 116 against the Bills in week 1. It's sophomore years for cornerbacks are really hard. A lot of young corners, you're either really bad your rookie year or you snap back your sophomore year, or it's the other way around.
Or you get injured and you miss 6 games, and technically this is kind of your rookie year / second year for McDuffie. He missed a lot of games.
He played a full playoff run. I don't think we can say
no full playoff run. He only played 3 games. I mean,
Okay, so he still ended up playing Fortnite. No. He's good. We don't have to make up stuff. We know he's good.
He's
really good.
He's a redshirt freshman. How about that? You know, he redshirted, then he played.
He played all season.
Missed 6 games. Coming up next, we're inching closer towards NFL Europe. Wanted to get to this before we hear from Patrick Mahomes coming up in the next segment, but this was interesting, and the question is not if, but when. And Peter O'Reilly is the guy in charge of expanding the NFL.
Teenage Wasteland. Oh, different O'Reilly.
That's his father. That's his father, Baba.
Yeah, that's his father, Baba. And he was asked on Adam Schefter's podcast, because we're now starting the NFL London games.
Mhm.
Okay. And this is what was asked about. Well, how close are we getting to having a team there? And this is what he said.
How much have you guys explored that possibility? And is it something you could envision happening 10 or so years?
Adam, I wouldn't rule it out on that horizon. You know, just because of those fundamentals, when you think about the fans are there. You could sell out those games, and there are millions in the electronic queue to buy those games. We've got strong stadiums like Tottenham that was purpose built for NFL games. You've got government support. That said, it's complicated. So there's nothing imminent there. And when you think about competitive dynamics, making sure it's fair, making, logistical dynamics, there's a lot more to still be worked through there. But the fact that we're having this conversation shows that the fandom is there and the support is there, knowing there are a lot of complications.
So it's happening. Like, it will happen. They said 10 years. The question is, how do you make it work? Part of me says these guys are flying privately and you need to stop complaining about it. That's what part of me says. Like this weekend, I'm having to fly and do layovers and all that kind of stuff, and they're flying directly to it. They get the best planes possible. They can sleep on the plane. The only question is, Brendan, you want to go ahead and say it? Body clocks. That's it. That's all it is. It's all body clocks. There's no other negative to this, because a flight from New York to LA is 1 hour shorter than a flight from New York to London. That's it. Travel time. The problem is you're crossing a bunch of time zones. Okay.
Well, you're crossing a bunch of time zones. And also, some players won't care. Some coaches won't care, but there are many NFL families that live in the UK.
You got to that's the number. Who's going to want to be a free agent and go over there? Now, some will say, yeah, I do. I want to, because that's the only job that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the only real negative variable in this. You can make it work with flights and schedules. The double bye is coming. If you add 2 teams over there, then you can, it's a travel partner, you can kind of make it work, to be honest with you. Or you just put 2 teams over there, and then you're going to have to reshuffle a lot of things. But it's coming. Like, I hope people realize it's going to me, when they add the 18th game is when there's going to be teams over in Europe. That'll be when there's a team in Europe. They sell out every single time, and they've added more and more games. Like, I do think it is coming.
They sell out because it's a novelty.
Yeah.
Will it be as much of a novelty once it's been over there for 5-10 years and it's every weekend? Do you think that
I think so.
You think that the Frankfurt Knockwursts are going to sell out all their games, or are they just excited to see Patrick Mahomes and Tua Tagovailoa? Are they going to be real psyched if they're an expansion team and they're stuck with, like, I don't know, Case Keenum playing quarterback? Do you think that the
He
London,
should have been like Drake May,
the London Wingdings are going to sell out all their games because
they're the London Bridges,
the London Silly Nannies?
No, I mean, there is a question to that. Like,
no, I think it's going to be there for good.
Now, I will say, because we know it's a business. Even if they're bad, the cost of an expansion team and everything that else that would go in with that would probably still make it worth the league / the owners' while to put a team there. They're going to have teams playing there full time, and I'm still going to say I don't think this is a good idea, and I don't think it makes sense. But I'm going to stick to that. But I think in this situation too, Peter O'Reilly, it's openly bad business if he says no way. Like, if he says,
Correct.
no, we're absolutely not going to do that, that's bad business, because you should always
leave the door open.
If you're talking about expansion, you're talking about growing your business, you should always be open to other things. So I think that's part of this, but also, I mean, it's not a coincidence the Jaguars are playing in London back-to-back weeks. Like, that's not, oh, man.
Little trial run
Whoops. I can't believe that happened. What a weird quirk. No, like, that's very intentional.
I thought that today was 10 years, within 10, and I think that's going to happen within 10 years.
Here's a much more important question. Are you going to watch the Toy Story game with your kids?
I explained what that was to my wife.
And hold on a second. What?
Okay, so Disney did this, I think, a couple of years ago with one of the outdoor hockey games.
I think it was last year.
Where, how they have the technology to animate, like, the dots? Have you seen the dots on the football field? Or
Bill Barnwell always tweets it out like,
on social media.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can use that technology in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways it was used for a hockey broadcast a couple of years ago was to animate the action as, like, little cartoon characters. And they showed the game as it was happening being played by the little cartoon characters. Well, Sunday, the Falcons-Jaguars game will be shown, and the players will be on a football field that is located on the floor of Andy's room from Toy Story.
No, my kids would love that.
And Buzz and Woody and Bo Peep, they're going to make cameos in it.
So I explained what that was to Abby. Like, we saw a commercial for it, and I explained it. And Abby goes, so can we watch that?
That's
I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check it
out. My son is getting to the age where he wants to know what's going on. He came to the Washburn Central Missouri game. Dan, you as well know this. The first quarter of the Washburn Central Missouri game was Banana Land. And my wife goes, Jake, that was the hardest quarter I've ever had to deal with, because Lawson had so many questions and there were so many wild things that occurred in that quarter. She was like, Jake, I was losing my mind. So that was kind of funny. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Back in on 580 Sports Talk. Jake, Dan, Brennan with you. Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes. He spoke to the media, talks about the Jets, talks a little bit more, and then answers the big question. Did he get to meet Taylor Swift? Here's what Patrick Mahomes had to say.
Hey, Patrick, Coach said that, you work a lot with Rasheed off to the side and everything. You talk to him just about coming along. What are some of the things that you guys are working on as far as getting on the same page?
Yeah, I think you see in this offense, there's so much freedom to kind of throttle and set down versus come out of breaks. And I think just that little stuff like that. You saw he did a good job of that this last week in those zone coverages, catching the ball, getting vertical and stuff like that. I thought on the third down one, he maybe could have hit it in a little bit faster, but that's the stuff that we're working on. And you see Travis do it so well, and you've seen guys in the past do it so well. You just have to keep working on that stuff because they have to be seeing the same thing you're seeing out there on the field.
On the touchdowns that Travis was reeled in films, he went off this route. Just what tells you away in the moment. Second here.
People ask me that, like Blaine asked me that, and I don't know why. I just kind of understand when he's going to do some stuff that he's not really supposed to do. There is times in practice where we were thinking about making a call for that for when we get that look for him to get him to run that route. And I remember with the coaches, I just said, I don't know why we need to call. He's going to do it anyways. And so, of course, he does it, and it's a touchdown. He has a good understanding of the whole entire concept. He understands the coverages, and it takes a lot of reps. And I've just kind of developed that trust that whenever I'm seeing it one way, he's going to do it that way.
When do you think you got there with him? How long ago was it?
I think it was in that first Super Bowl run. There was a couple times throughout the game where I threw some balls that he adjusted his route, and I threw it kind of before he even did it, just kind of knowing him. And I think it just took a couple of years of just working with him and continuing to do stuff. And we got to feel. Not only did I get a feel for how he runs routes, but you got to feel for how I was seeing stuff. And so just that combination of stuff, I think, developed that connection where we can kind of go off the radar screen and kind of develop some stuff that's not necessarily called.
Patrick, obviously you don't study your defense like you study opponents' defenses, but I do wonder what you think has enabled this success so far. And you made a point after Jacksonville said they won the game. Mm-hmm. What is it? Does anything surprise you, or you particularly take a note of?
Yeah, I would hate playing our defense. And obviously the players. They're deep at every single position right now. But the scheme and how they execute it. That's why I always say after training camp, I'm like, all right, now we can get back to regular season where I can focus on just the couple coverages that I'm going to see or the little change up here and there. Versus our defense, it's like every single play, you never know what to expect. And I think that's hard for offenses to go against. And then having a defense that, a lot of these guys have came back for the second year now or multiple years, and they have an understanding of what Spags and why he's calling stuff and what he wants. I think that's what makes it so special. And I think they're going to continue to grow and continue to get better with more and more reps.
Are those the reasons you think it's sort of taken an earlier jump that his defenses often have in the past? That it's a little bit of continuity.
Yeah, you said it. Just those guys coming back another year in the defense, adding even more talent to it. A lot of young guys that played last year, and you could tell they were kind of probably playing a little faster than their mind was kind of comprehending. And then now you can feel they're very comfortable. They can just be themselves, let their talent show. That's what makes Spags' defense so good is he gives them freedom to adjust on the fly, and they're doing a great job of doing that at a high level.
Patrick, what are you seeing from the Jets defense? When you look at them, first of all, is there an after effect of not having Aaron there? And then second of all, what are you seeing from a talented group like this that you're preparing for?
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. They're deep in the D line, but they're deep everywhere, really. They have DBs, they have linebackers. We have a lot of respect for them, and we know that I'm about to try to prevent myself from negative plays. Just take those easy, positive plays, and if you get the opportunity to take a shot, take it. But if it's not there, you got to continue to just drive and grind out points in this game, and that's a really good defense. It'll be a great challenge for us.
Patrick, specifically those DBs, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, what are you saying from them? I know they play pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I think Reed got me in college for like a pick six. So I know he's good at reading and recognizing routes. And then Sauce obviously had a great year this last year and is going to continue to get even better and better. And so they have a good group. The safeties are good. They had to rotate another safety in this last week. He played good ball. And they know that their D line's good, so they know when they can kind of jump and make plays happen. And so it's a good unit. You can tell they've been together for a year or two now. And they understand what their concept, their defense is, and where they can be kind of a little bit weaker, and they know how to like execute at that level. So it's going to be a great challenge for us, especially our young guys. And I'm excited for it.
And talking about not wanting to play against, y'all's defense, some offensive linemen said, I wouldn't want to play against our run concepts, and the run was much effective against Chicago. Just how much does the run aid you in your progression in offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think we knew in the building especially that we needed to get the run game going. Everybody talks about the offense and how much we've thrown over the past, but you always see when we're at our best is when we're running the football. And so we're going to try to continue to do that. Obviously, it'll be a great challenge against this defensive line and linebacking group, but we'll try to continue to establish the run. And once you establish the run, it opens up everything. And so we got a good running back room and a good offensive line, so we want to try to make sure that we keep that progressing in the right direction.
We'll go across the room, starting with Seren.
Patrick, I know the Eagles have been very successful with their tush push or whatever you want to call it, that play. I know why you guys don't do it, but I just wonder what's your reaction when you see it. They're not only really effective, but it seems to really jack their team up and be kind of like part of their personality. I mean, they're the only one that does 31 other teams. Like, what's your reaction? What do you guys talk about when you see them have that kind of success? And what goes into that play?
Yeah, I mean, it's an advantage for them. I mean, but you see other teams in the league try to do it, and they can't do it as well as they do. It speaks to their offensive line. It speaks to their quarterback. They know how to do it at a really high level, and they've practiced it and worked on it. I think as you've seen now, I mean, the other teams have tried to kind of manipulate and do that different type of stuff, and it might get the first down, but it's not as pretty and as powerful as when the Eagles do it. So, all to them, man, that they've kind of mastered something that I think other teams are going to try to do as best they can.
Sam?
When you mentioned that Green got you in college, is that just something that you remember from that long ago? Have you been reminded about it at all since?
It's just I don't throw a lot of pick sixes, and he had a pick six, so you remember it. I mean, he's a great player, so I know. But that's stuff that you realize because that's route recognition. That's jumping the ball, making a play, and so that's stuff that you really have to be aware of whenever you're going out there and playing quarterback.
Do you remember the specific play and everything?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think he was supposed to get blocked by a receiver. He jumped it before the receiver could get there and went to the house.
We'll go Aaron, then Todd. Go ahead, Aaron.
I know you're going to be a little busy with the Renaissance tour with Beyonce coming in. Have you followed it? Have you seen any clips? Maybe the Mute Challenge. Have you heard of that?
I have not seen that. I've seen some videos of the tour. It looks amazing. The stage is like as big as the field. Brittany was upset the date got changed because she's going to come to the game, so she's not going to be able to go to the concert. But it's going to be amazing for Kansas City to be able to have that big of an event. And Arrowhead's going to do it right because it's going to be an amazing atmosphere.
Huh?
We'll stay on the non-football part. We talked to you after the game. I know this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff's gone wild. You said you hadn't gotten to meet her yet. Did you get her to this after party? Did you meet Taylor Swift? What do you think of the whole thing?
Yeah, I met her. She's really cool. Good people. But like Travis said, man, I'm gonna let them have their privacy and just keep it moving.
I thought you heard her, or you heard Mahomes saying that his wife going to the game in New York. What'd I tell you guys on Monday? The internet will melt down if Brittany Mahomes and Taylor Swift are in the same box cheering. They just hung out, had a good time, apparently. Now they become BFFs.
I'll do your spin zone on things. Maybe he's just saying that because what are you going to say? Your best friend's new girlfriend is a jerk and you didn't get along with her? You're going to put her on blast in the media?
This is all still just famous people hanging out.
I know.
Well, now
celebrities mingling.
Here is what.
Do you have this? You want me to play
it? You can play it. Travis Kelce spoke today on his podcast, the New Heights podcast, with his brother. You can definitely tell Jason is having a hilarious time with this. The jokes that he rattled off a whole bunch. But this was Travis Kelce on the relationship right now. This is what he said.
Yeah, so this has been in the rumor mill for quite some time. And, I think we've been debating bringing these rumors up on the podcast or talking about it at all. And I think that you clearly have wanted to keep this thing a little bit less public. Do you have anything you want to say?
Well, one, I know I brought all this attention to me, right? I'm the one I did the whole friendship bracelet thing and, told everybody how butthurt I was that I didn't get to meet Taylor.
You got to shoot your shot.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You miss 100% of everything you don't take, baby. So yeah, I think it's what's real is that it is my personal life, and I want to respect both of our lives. She's not in the media as much as I am, doing this show every single week, and having fun during the NFL season on other guys' shows like the McAfee show and any other show that I go on from here on out.
I've enjoyed every second of it.
So, like you said on that Thursday night game, I'm enjoying life, and I sure as hell enjoyed this weekend. So everything moving forward, I think me talking about sports and saying all right now will have to be kind of where I keep it.
Trying to keep it quiet. Can't have don't want to put anything out there. So I don't think Taylor Swift will be coming on the New Heights podcast anytime soon.
That's a shame. That's the crossover event we really need.
That would be amazing if it did happen. I would watch that.
If she didn't do anything publicly for like a decade and then suddenly she shows up on some podcast, it's like, we'll get to Taylor in a minute, but first, let's chill Jake Paul's energy drink. Like, that would be jarring.
She because she's a level of famous, right? She doesn't need to like do interviews to promote herself. Like, she's not out there doing like there haven't been late night talk shows lately, but like she didn't have to do that.
No,
she didn't have to go on like the morning show to promote her tour or whatever.
She's not hitting up the Today Show.
Yeah, she's not on Good Morning America. Like, she's so famous that all that stuff is beside the point. That's a different level of fame.
Like Will Smith would have to go on those talk shows.
Yeah,
there
aren't 10 people in the world, 5 people in the world probably that are that kind of famous.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a little bit different because there is the kind of famous that Travis Kelce is, which is, for what he does for a living, pretty famous.
Yeah.
And then there's the level of famous that his new girlfriend
air quotes
is. Yeah. You didn't see the air quotes if you aren't
By
watching.
the way, if there's a thing going on now that a bunch of the wives of men who watch football talk about how Taylor Swift is putting Travis Kelce on the map. You guys are falling for that hook, line, and sinker, guys. Come on, be better than that. Be better. We got a lot more to get to. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 here on this Wednesday. Jake LeBon, Brennan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you. Thanks for stopping by, joining us. We got Royals baseball coming up tonight. Need to get that home run for Bob. Gotta do it. Got 5 games left. They got 103 losses now.
Tripled last night. Triple is not a home run.
No. Although more extra base hits. If he gets to 30 home runs, I mean, he's going to have like 70 extra base hits, which is incredible. Great year for Bob. But it means nothing if he doesn't get 30 home runs.
You're not keeping track of 29, 30 seasons?
No. No one like nines. You got to get the round number. Come on now.
Hey, big league debut tonight for Jonathan Bolin. He's going to start.
Yeah. Man, he had high expectations a couple years ago, and then his arm blew out.
Yeah.
And he had to readjust.
Always feel good for guys who have the big arm injury, either as an amateur or in the minor leagues, and having to climb that ladder again, basically relearn how to pitch and get back to the major leagues. This will be a cool moment for Jonathan Bolin tonight, however it goes.
And I mean, Cole Reagan's look at Cole Reagan
twice.
Yeah, Cole
Two
Reagan.
Tommy Johns.
NASCAR driver Cole Reagan's, and also Royals ace. So we got Royals baseball coming up tonight. We will get to that. We're going to hear from Andy Reid in just a second. We've got our high school athletes of the week. One got to go as well. All that jam-packed. Royals baseball coming up at 5 tonight. So keep that in mind. 5:40 first pitch. No more Royals tickets to give away. Shout out to our winner yesterday. Really excited. Taking his 8-year-old kid.
Oh, that's
rules. Awesome.
And we love hearing that.
Yes.
By the way, I would like to add, and that is very cool. We also had Anthony Veneziano make his major league debut last night.
He did, and it was a very nice debut because he wore number 69.
Fulton probably took a lap around his home, celebrating that way. I mean, he had been telling us in like March, Veneziano.
Yeah,
I'm excited for him.
He's the founder and treasurer of the Anthony Veneziano fan club.
Hey, how's Kyle Isbell doing? Is he doing well? Because that was Fulton's boy. He loved Kyle Isbell. Still loves Kyle Isbell.
He is what he is. He's a below-average offensive player who plays very good defense in center field.
There we go. Let's hear from Big Red. Andy Reid met with the media today, and here's what he had to say.
As far as injuries go, Noah's not injured, but he's sick. And then Bolton is still recovering from the ankle sprain. So other than that, everybody else will practice. We elevated a couple guys, Matt Dickerson and Montreal Washington, put Prince down because of a quad tear there. And then we have a couple of practice squad receivers that we signed on. So we look forward to the challenge, playing the Jets, good football team. We know that. One of the best defenses in the National Football League, and an offense that's growing. So we got to stay on top of our game. Special teams, I think, is ranked number 1 in a lot of categories right now this season. So we'll start the practices today and make sure we detail our work going forward. They're also well coached. I mean, Robert does a real nice job with the team, and Nathaniel, we know, is a brilliant guy offensively, and Jeff Albrecht is a very good defense coordinator. So they're fully loaded on the coaching staff, and they've got good players. So we just can make sure we put the work in this week. With that time, George.
Andy, who was, I couldn't understand the first guy you mentioned, the guy who's sick today?
Noah.
Oh, great. No, great. Okay, all right.
There's only one Noah. Well, I guess there's 2.
I just need 3 to find.
Yeah.
Montreal Washington, you talked about bringing him up. Any chance you can get him involved as a receiver yet, or is right now is he just a kick?
Yeah, we're working him in there. He takes some practice reps, so we'll just see how that goes. I mean, he's new to that, so his main focus was returner, but he can do both.
You expecting Richie James back at some point this year?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Andy, with the Jets defensive line, with Quinn Williams, just the challenge of facing them and how they've been so good so far this year, at least one unit on that team's been good.
Yeah, well, he's fantastic player, all pro. He's young and explosive and kind of wreaks havoc inside. Now he's not the only one. So they've got really 2 full lines, 8 guys, and you probably could add a couple of rushers outside. So 10 guys that bring it, and they're going to throw fastballs at you. It'll be a good challenge for our offensive line.
Andy, going back to the injuries, you say Prince had a tear in his quad?
Yeah, quad tear.
Is there a plan for who's going to back up Juwan now?
Yeah, we're working on that right now, but we're gonna have, we'll get all that. Yeah, we're working through it.
Quad tear is pretty serious. Is that out for the year? Is that an easy assumption for that one? Or what would you say?
We'll see. You guys are asking me these things. I'm having me predict the future on these. I don't know that. So we'll just see how it goes. Yeah.
When it comes to the O-line, we focused a lot on Juwan, but just as a whole, it's a little different with the tackles this year. How have you felt like it's been through these games so far?
Yeah, he's done good with the exception of the penalty part of it. So
I mean, more so the line as a whole with the new tackles, just through 3 games. What do you think?
Yeah, well, when you're getting a lot of yards in a game, normally your line's doing okay, and the tackles are part of that. So, can we get better along there? Absolutely. But that's all of us in there. So we got to, but there have been a lot of yards and a lot of throws and so on. So, but we've had games where we've shot ourselves in the foot and haven't scored. And that's kind of the most important thing.
Andy, you mentioned their defensive line, their defensive backs, Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, they play with a lot of confidence. What are you saying from them?
Yeah, they're very good. They're aggressive. They play quite a bit of man coverage. So, and both the corners play well in man, and their safeties likewise. They got good nickels, dime. They'll play some dime in there too, and they're all pretty good. Now, Sauce is, he's a special guy, but they're all very good coverage guys.
Andy, was Kadarius completely healthy on Sunday? Is that just your decision?
Yeah, I just didn't want to push the toe on the thing. I mean, we started him off, and then I backed off him. That thing had swollen up, and we got the swelling down. I kind of wanted to end the game with it that way, So.
Andy, with either both you and Patrick, as his salary goes up, he's more and more a part of what you do, and I know he's grown as a player. Do you have to coach a little bit different to protect him? Do you do more, knowing how much you would lose with him, and do you coach him differently to maybe get the ball out even a little bit sooner? Don't take any risks. Is there an evolution there with both you and him?
Yeah, so I think as time's gone on, he's done that. He's getting it out a little bit faster, more on time. Then the more with the new receivers, the more he gets used to those guys, then it'll increase more as we go through this season. So, and we do enough movement stuff where we move the pocket. I think that's important. That's all part of this offense. It's not a secret. So, all that stuff's important too.
Coach, it was revealed on films that on Kelsey's touchdown, he was supposed to run a corner and instead went inside. Just, I guess, what's your reaction to that, and how many years does it take to say, okay, you're cool with break off your route?
Yeah, well, as long as he and Pat are on the same page, when you're walled, then we give him some flexibility there. So, yeah, he's had a few of those.
Andy, obviously, defense is a work in progress. You want it to get better and better, but I do wonder if you feel in any way pleasantly surprised by what it's done early, and what do you think is enabled that?
I'm not surprised. I just from what I saw in camp, I mentioned how the zones were tighter and the guys in man coverage were also tighter and doing a nice job. I thought the young guys they're growing. They're in the process of growing. The thing you've got to do is you have to do it every week and keep working to get better. These guys have some good receivers, so you're gonna have a good, nice challenge there. But it's again, they'll tell you that they can get better, but they're working their tail off, and I think that's been a big part of it. Spags does a phenomenal job teaching along with you're talking about the DBs, David and Donald, and then putting them in good positions. But these guys, they're making plays all over. And you saw what Tony McDuffie did. I mean, he was in a couple different spots and moving around and did a nice job with it.
One or two things that you think are the reason that it's taken so far the way it has?
So they've worked at it, fundamentals, techniques, and the different coaches seeing it. They've been able to see it. And then your D-line, there's some young guys there that have gotten some experience and are playing better. So just with the experience. So that always makes the back end, it helps them.
Coach, the Jets obviously had kind of the rug pulled out from under early in the first meeting with Aaron going down. I know you're not in their meetings or anything, but on film, are you seeing like the kind of spirit you'd expect to see, attitude from their team? They don't look like they've packed in anything, right?
No, they won the game,
Yeah.
so they we'll be ready, for the best. I mean, that's what we anticipate getting there. And they're at home. And they've got talent, so we have to make sure we buckle down and work like crazy this week. Take care of what we can take care of.
A couple more guys. A handful of guys as receivers have had big years for you as a rookie in your offense, like Deshaun and Jeremy, Reggie Graham, Tyreek. Is there something about Rashid's makeup that tells you that he can kind of be in that category too?
Yeah, I mean, he's growing again in front of us here. He's one of the young guys that. But it looks like he's getting more on the same page with Pat. Pat spends a lot of time with him, and and he wants to. He's got the right attitude. He wants to be good, and so it's consistency. So he had a nice game. He's coming off a nice game now. Now present it again and take another step this week. That's the attitude you've got to have, and he seems to have that.
Last through will Aaron, Sam, and then sir. From a play caller's perspective, obviously their quarterback's still trying to gain some confidence. How do you instill that? How do you give confidence to a quarterback that's kind of a shaky ground, if you will?
Yeah, listen, Nathaniel, he's been doing it a long time, so he played the position and so on. So I'm sure he has his own way of doing it. And we'll get him there. He's a BYU guy. Come on. Yeah.
And what do you think of what Jared McKinnon's been able to do at his age, obviously, the injury?
Yeah, no. Amazing guy, great attitude, and works like crazy. So even in meetings, he's doing some stretching or doing something there to make sure he's good to go. He's survived 10 years of running back in this league. That's a long time, dog years. Yeah.
Last one, sir.
Coach, I know you want to win every game, right? So you'd like to be 3-0 and not 2-1 here. But last week the Cowboys were getting all the hype. This week the Dolphins are getting all the hype. Do you kind of you've had plenty of weeks where you're the team getting all the hype. Do you like kind of maybe not being the team that's up front, maybe not being the one that all the talks about?
Yeah, I don't listen to all that noise that goes on. So I mean, this is most of the media I get is right here. So I don't read stuff. I don't look at the TV stuff or listen to it. I don't do all that. So But if you're asking me, so I don't know that. I don't really get caught up in it. I don't talk about that. It takes so much time to get ready for a team and in the NFL, and so you don't have time for all that other stuff. I mean, I know it's used out there and that, but if you do this thing right, you're just every minute you get, you exhaust on the opponent, and you see coaches working along there. You see these players carrying these iPads all over the place, and they're in the training room. They're looking at them. They go home. They look at them, and if you're going to be good, that's what you've got to do. That you have to dedicate that. So then you don't have time for the other stuff.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Coach. That is head coach Andy Reid, who might have been playing Cupid for all we know, according to Travis Kelce. Look at that. Travis Kelce joked, hey, who knew Cupid was that big? Andy Reid, celebrity matchmaker. Yeah. I love even Andy Reid's having fun with it. That's terrific.
Bill Belichick having fun with it was the funniest part.
Great line by Bill Belichick. The fact that, and this is why everybody says he low-key has a good sense of humor.
Yeah, everyone who ever
show
played for him says that.
I can buy that. I mean, Andy Reid's reputation for a long time in Philadelphia was, well, he's real short with the media. He kind of kept it close to the vest. And now that he's been around longer and he's been obviously successful, I think you start to see a little bit more of Andy Reid's personality, the kind of guy that, you know, his college teammates would tell you he was, or that
the good old Tom Holmoe told us he was.
Our close personal friend, BYU athletic director Tom Holmoe.
Tom Holmoe. That is backup to one Ronnie Lott and had to cover Jerry Rice. He said, you didn't. Great interview.
Yeah. Obviously, it's fun to see Andy Reid having fun with that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Concern about Bolton for Sunday. I
wouldn't be, because it's the Jets. If this the Bills, yes. This the Bengals, yes.
Do you think the defense is still as functional with Tranquil in the middle? Because I thought he played pretty well against the Bears, but it's hard to tell because that's not a functional NFL offense.
Which, same thing this week. I think it would be different if it was a better team. You know, like the Ravens or, you know, the Dolphins.
Team that puts you in conflict a little bit more defensively.
Yeah.
He did more like misdirection, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Jets are pretty, like, even, I mean, I guess we have no idea what the offense was supposed to look like because Aaron Rodgers played 4 snaps, but they don't look like they run a ton of like real fancy run game stuff. It's a lot of, you know,
stinks.
It's a lot of meat and potatoes run game stuff with, and I think Dalvin Cook still has, I don't think he's totally juiceless. And I think Breece Hall has shown some flashes of being his old self coming off the ACL, but that's not a running game where I think, oh man, your linebackers better be on it. It's just, no, get to the spot and make the tackle. Drew Tranquil can do that.
I think Dalvin Cook might be juiceless. I think the Vikings should have had a better plan than Alexander Mattison because he stinks. He is big bad.
Good.
I know that Jets offensive line is terrible, but even behind terrible offensive lines, there aren't a lot of guys averaging just 2.3 yards an attempt. That's pretty rough.
Sometimes you just lose it real quick as a running back.
Yeah,
that's true.
Sometimes it happens.
That's who's been struggling as a running back, who at one point in time in recent memory was an incredible running back? Derrick Henry. Derrick, I will carry you for 3 yards after contact. Henry is now averaging 3.2 yards an attempt.
So what happens when you run him 400 times?
Well, I heard a stat. I think I actually heard this on Pardon My Take this week, that 1,800 carries is when over the last decade running backs have fallen off. Like that's more so than 30 years old.
So many carries.
1,800 carries.
That's a lot of carries.
Last week he crossed 1,800 for his career.
He's at 1,801.
Yeah. And he's been.
How many guys you even see go over 300 carries anymore? And he did it 3 times in a 4-year stretch.
Yeah. I mean, that stretch is pretty much untouchable.
It would have been a lot more if he got hurt.
Yes. In the season where he missed half the season, 2021, he was on pace for over 400 carries.
Look what happened to Larry Johnson after that. Turned into a puddle of mud.
Can you believe that Henry was only a first-team All-Pro once?
Not the year that he won Offensive Player of the Year?
No, let's see. I gotta go.
Yes,
go to his
that's correct.
Yes. Yeah, All-Pro, first team once, second team once, 3-time Pro Bowler. Pretty wild. He wasn't even a Pro Bowler his first 1,000-yard season. But yeah, I mean, injuries pile up, and
he was
what are you gonna do?
That 3-year stretch was incredible. Hey, that got Terrell Davis into the Hall of Fame, so maybe it'll get Derrick Henry. Coming up next,
winning Super Bowl MVP probably helps too.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't have an above-average quarterback on his team like Terrell Davis had.
I hate that account on Twitter. I hate him because you can't every Chiefs Broncos week. There's no football talk. There's no actual discussion of anything.
Yes.
Did you know John Elway wasn't actually good?
Counterpoint. Growing up in Denver, I have been waiting for that thread my entire life.
That's
true. It's a matter of perspective.
This is where me and Dan, because he's not a Bronco fan in Denver, was waiting for this. Me, Chief fan, wanted to be like, yeah, see, he was He's the Frank Gore of quarterback. Accounting staff.
All I ever say about John Elway is he was never first team All Pro. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Real interesting.
He's Philip Rivers. Coming up next.
This is
Brendan
where
is just so mad right now.
I grew up.
Mad.
It was a triangle. It was Catholic Notre Dame fans, non-Catholic Notre Dame fans, and then Catholic non-Notre Dame fans. That's what the triangle was. I loved Notre Dame as a kid. And then there were like,
where is Notre Dame coming into this?
No, I'm just saying, like, grew up in Denver, non-Bronco fan versus Bronco fan.
Gotcha.
That's the feud there.
Yeah. Coming up next, we got an edition of One Gotta Go here on
You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
Well, gotta go.
Alrighty, one gotta go. Mine today. I saw this when it comes to one of my favorite clips on social media is This Day in Sports History. Love it. So here we go. One gotta go in terms of individual upsets. Okay. One is not on the level as the others. Okay. Did you know that today, 23 years ago, Rulon Gardner defeated Alexander Kralin in the Greco-Roman? Remember that?
Alexander Karelin. Yes.
Karelin, yeah. Big deal. Like, big deal. He was undefeated in 13 years. You know, that was a big deal. I remember that big old teddy bear, right? Big deal. All right. So that was the reason this came up today, because 23 years ago. So Rulon Gardner's upset. Buster Douglas beating Tyson. And I went all individual. Y.E. Yang beating Tiger, because Tiger had won every major leading after 3 rounds. He beat Tiger by 3 strokes.
08 PGA?
09.
09.
And then I went with one when Robin Soderling beat Rafael Nadal in the French Open in the 4th round. Didn't even make it to the quarters. Snapped his, 100 and some match winning streak.
Well, I remember the first 3, and I don't remember that. So I guess that's the one that has to go. But, I mean, yeah, all of those monster upsets. But that one does not ring bells the way that the other 3 do.
Okay. I couldn't find another one because I'm with you. That's the answer. I couldn't find a third individual one. Like, it could have been like Miracle on Ice or Lester winning the, but like that was a big upset. It's just, it didn't make as much noise because Nadal won like 12 championships in a row before he lost to Soderling. That was incredible.
I am going to go with the golf answer with Y.E. Yang over Tiger, and not just because I'm a golf hater, but because I think it's a different kind of upset. Because the other 3 are all you're directly influencing how your opponent plays.
Okay.
Like you're truly going head to head. Yeah,
There's
exactly.
Defense, yes.
Whereas
there's no defense in golf.
Not that it's not impressive, but it's just a different kind of upset. So I'd have to pull that one.
I mean, that's the only reason why Roger Federer won the French Open that year is because Soderling beat him.
Yeah.
Or beat Nadal.
What's your pick?
It's the Robin Soderling one.
Yeah.
And when Y.E. Yang beat Tiger, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Hit that hybrid underneath the tree.
And that was also the only thing Y.E. Yang ever did.
Ever did.
Like, it's not like
that's Rich Beam or
Phil
Steve
Mickelson
Jones
chased him down or Sergio.
Yeah,
No,
Y.E. Yang.
It was just some rando beat him on a Sunday. Yeah.
Mine is not sports. Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman. One's got to go.
Batman's not a real superhero. Batman's just a rich guy with a bunch of toys. The rest are real superheroes. Batman, get Batman out of here.
Batman, Superman. See, in that situation there, you could also be anti-DC because the other 3 are Superman's DC. That's right.
I don't
Superman is DC.
care one bit about
Wonder
that.
Woman is also DC. Spider-Man's actually the only Marvel one.
Ooh, maybe I got it. No. Right now, I would have to get rid of Wonder Woman.
Wow, sexist.
Because I knew that was coming. My son loves Spider-Man. That's his favorite. He loves Spider-Man. Likes Batman. He wore his Batman underwear the other day. He liked that.
Nice.
And then Superman. I mean, how do you hate Superman? He's Superman.
Oh, that's my answer, easily.
You don't like Superman?
Oh, he's good at everything. He's fast and strong and has no weakness except for some weird element from a planet millions of miles away. Like,
yes, correct.
What is the intrigue? What about Superman is interesting?
That he's mild-mannered Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Well, they all have alt-right.
He's Dean Cain in a suit.
Yeah. I'm not interested. Like, I don't even like Spider-Man. I'm not really a Spider-Man fan. I won't tell Lawson. I'm not a Spider-Man fan, but Superman's not interesting. Like, oh, cool.
But he's a real superhero.
Are you a superhero guy?
What is
but I am a Batman fan. I watched The Dark Knight Rises last night.
Batman has no superpowers. He's just rich.
It's the intellect. He's not just rich. In Dark Knight Rises, he's not rich. He lost all his money.
But
and then they steal all the toys.
He's got no real superpowers.
Do you need a power to be a hero?
Yes. A superhero? Yes, that's the point. Superheroes have superpowers. Having a lot of money and a butler and a nice car is not a superpower.
I find this argument to be reductive.
I didn't know Dan get this fired up about Batman.
I didn't know.
We had text with 785. I was going to say something else, but Dan swayed me. Batman got to go. That's right.
None of them have a movie as good as Batman does. In fact, Batman's got 3 movies better than any other superheroes, any movies. I would like to note I have not seen a Spider-Man movie since Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man.
That is also applies to me as well.
Honestly, 3 of them could go and just Spider-Man.
I'm not interested in Spider-Man. Not my guy.
He can sling webs.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
He got real powers.
Like, people get bit by spiders to hope that they'll get powers.
Well, those people are dumb.
I'm just
My
saying.
wife got bit by a spider. We had to go to the hospital. Don't do that.
Well, I'm not condoning it.
All right, back to sports for my one gotta go. And talking about double-digit sack seasons for the Chiefs kind of led me to this one. You're making a Mount Rushmore of Chiefs pass rushers, and obviously Derek Thomas is on there first, so he's not part of this discussion. And you have to have been a first-team All-Pro to be part of this discussion, so apologies here to Tomahawley and Art Still. But you've got 4, and one's got to go, because you can only fit 4 on your Mount Rushmore. Neil Smith, Justin Houston, Buck Buchanan, Chris Jones.
Justin Houston, out.
Neil Smith.
Good player, not great player.
See, Neil Smith was my youth, so that's why he's on there. Anybody over the age of 50, if you don't say Buck Buchanan, will be irate at you. He's a Hall of Famer. Like, this goes back to, do you go by, what you've seen? Because I never saw Buck Buchanan play. Like, I never did. So if you go that route, Buck Buchanan's out because I never saw him.
But he had 70 and a half sacks from 1963
he was
to
awesome. He's a Hall of
1975.
Famer for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, the answers are who's the best defensive player in Chiefs history? And the 4 answers are unequivocally, it's either Derek Thomas, Buddy Bell, Buck Buchanan, or Willie Lanier. That's it. End of list.
Okay.
So you got to keep him on there. I think Chris Jones is better than Justin Houston, so I'm with you. Justin Houston got to go.
Text line agrees. Houston's out. It's a tough cut because obviously he had some great years, but only one time a first team All-Pro. Jones unique because he did it from the interior, unlike Justin Houston did. Buck Buchanan also defensive tackle, did it from the interior.
Yeah, I mean he's arguably one, and you want to include Emmett Thomas there. Maybe.
I don't know if you were bitter at Neil Smith the way that all went down, leaving Kansas City for Denver, going to win the Super Bowl.
When he did the
home run swing,
that was so cool. I thought that was awesome.
Neil Smith lived 3 blocks from where I grew up.
Yeah,
he bought a house not
cool.
far from where I grew up.
I got no problem with Neil.
Had moved to Denver.
Yeah, Neil Smith, good people. I think. I don't know. I just liked him growing up. That'll do it for One Gotta Go. Coming up next, we'll have our high school athletes of
It's time for our Lewis Toyota High School Athletes of the Week. Now let's jump right on into it. A pair of seniors we're honoring this week, including Avery Zimmerman from Topeka High Girls Golf and Jackson Escabel from Shawnee Heights Cross Country. We'll start with Avery. We'll hear from Jackson second on our Lewis Toyota High School Athletes of the Week. Our Lewis Toyota Female High School Athlete of the Week is not just one of the best golfers in the city, but one of the best multi-sport athletes in the city. She's going to college to play soccer. We'll get to that in a little bit. But we welcome in Avery Zimmerman, a senior golfer for the Topeka High Trojans, who is coming off of a city golf championship this past Saturday, winning on a playoff hole as well. A great round out at Western Hills. And Avery, let's start right there. Congratulations on the city golf championship win. What's going through your mind as you have that 76 through the 18-hole round and then only to have to go to a playoff after that? What's going through your mind as you got to the end of that round?
Thank you. And I didn't really go into the tournament expecting to win because this was actually my first tournament I've won in my whole entire high school career. And so when I finished 18th hole and they told me I was in a playoff hole, I was just really overwhelmed, but also really excited because it's an opportunity I've never had before. And I just went into the hole really confident and just really excited.
So what point during the weekend did you realize I'm doing something pretty special here? Like I don't know exactly where I am on the leaderboard, but I feel like I'm doing pretty well. When did it start to sink in that this might be a pretty special event for you?
It was about halfway through because I actually started really well in the tournament. I birdied my first hole, and after that, I just kind of knew I was like, this is going to be a good day. And I was hitting all my shots really straight, and my putts were falling. So I just knew that it was going to be a good outcome. Whether or not I was first, I was just going to be happy with my performance either way.
We're chatting with Avery Zimmerman, a senior golf standout for the Topeka High Trojans. She is our Lewis Toyota High School Female Athlete of the Week following her win at the Topeka City Golf Championship this past weekend at Western Hills. All right, Avery, give us a little bit of a scouting report on you as a golfer. What are some of your strengths? What are some of the things you've tried to work on over time? If you were going to, coach us up on what your game is like, tell us a little bit about it.
I feel like my short game is definitely my strength. I'm a very good putter, and I feel like I read the greens really well. So as long as I'm hitting my drives and my iron shots straight, as long as I can get it around the green, I usually have a pretty good round because I'm usually able to get it up and down or in one or two putts every time, which really helps keep my score low.
How did you get interested in the sport of golf? Because I feel like for me, it's something that you either are really into or it's just not your thing. I feel like with the physical and the mental aspects of it, it's hard to do it just halfway. So how did this become something you were interested in? Has it been a lifelong interest or something you picked up closer to when you got into high school?
It's something I picked up in middle school because my dad's always been a golfer. He won state in high school, so he's always been encouraging me to go out and play, and I finally gave it a try. And, at first I was kind of iffy about it, but as I started playing more, I just started having more fun with it. And as you get better, you kind of develop a love for it. And so these past few years in high school, I've just spent a lot more time, put more time into it. And I think it just really started because of my dad. He's been my inspiration this whole time.
When you started this senior season, what were some of the goals you set out for yourself? Was it to win that first tournament or maybe set a personal best in terms of just your 18-hole round? What are some of the things you set out to accomplish, and how well do you think you've done at accomplishing those so far?
So I really just wanted to try and shoot high 70s, low 80s, or at least average that for the year. And my goal is obviously always to win the tournaments, but I'm kind of more just on myself and getting a lower score for me. And I also came into this year hoping to qualify and place top 20 in state because I've actually fell short the past 2 years due to a bad round the second day. So this year I've really just been mentally focusing and trying to relax more and keep a better attitude when I'm playing because that always helps me play a lot better.
We've got a few more questions for our Lewis Toyota High School Female Athlete of the Week, Avery Zimmerman from Topeka High, coming off of a city golf championship at Western Hills this past Saturday. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, Avery, you are a multi-sport athlete and are darn good at a couple of different sports, but they're sports that are both year-round in their own right. As you mentioned with golf, you've got to put in the work if you want to see the improvement. And soccer as well, which I think you could argue would be your main sport, going to college to play it. that's also a year-round sport for, from youth to high school and obviously beyond as well. How do you manage your time to put in the commitment to both improve on it and still get the opportunity to enjoy both of those?
Absolutely. Soccer has always been my passion. I've always just kind of called golf my side hustle as a joke, but I'm playing club soccer right now, so I'm practicing every night during the week, but I'm still making sure that I'm playing golf on the weekends and just keeping a good balance between both, because they do sometimes go hand in hand, and I'm able to do both every day and like during the week. So it's just about keeping a balance and managing my time well so that I'm able to get training in both, because it's really important to stay active in both, because that's how you get better in the long run.
Even though the way you play them is so wildly different, do you feel like there's transferable skills, something in golf that helps you in soccer and maybe something in soccer that helps you in golf?
Absolutely. It's definitely the mental part for me. It's just staying mentally strong and knowing that even if you have a bad round or bad game one day, the next time is just your chance to make it up and improve on it and just see what things you can do better the next time. So I feel like the mental part is the biggest crossover for me, and each one has really helped each other out.
Last thing I've got for you then, Avery, as I mentioned a little bit ago, you have committed to play soccer in your college career at Emporia State. What was the best thing about Emporia State for you in terms of the fit, in terms of what really attracted you to their soccer program?
My favorite thing is just the homey feeling I get when I went down there on my visit. Everyone was so welcoming and friendly. My coaches, the teammates, everyone was just so welcoming. And it just made me feel like home when I went down there, because I didn't want to go to a college in like a really big city and feel overwhelmed. So going there and feeling like home and just having that like good fit is what ultimately made me choose it.
Well, a huge soccer season is coming up a little bit later on this year and a great career as well. But right now, golf at the focal point of Avery Zimmerman's attention, and it led to a win in the City Golf Championship this past weekend at Western Hills. Avery Zimmerman of Topeka High is our Lewis Toyota High School Female Athlete of the Week. Avery, thank you so much for taking some time for us. Again, know your schedule is obviously very busy with all you've got going on. So thank you for the time. And again, congratulations on the win this past weekend.
Thank you for the recognition.
Our Lewis Toyota Male High School Athlete of the Week is Jackson Escabel, a senior runner for Shawnee Heights Cross Country, who is coming off of a win at Rimrock Farm just north of Lawrence this past weekend. How about a time under 16 minutes, 15:57 for the winning time. Jackson also a two-time state medalist in cross country. Last year, a state champion in 5A track. And Jackson, now that we've run through all these different accolades and honors that you've won, let's go back to this past weekend. What was working so well for you, and how good did it feel to pick up that win at Rimrock Farm?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few lightning delays and a few different factors that kind of played into that meet. But I knew that if I kind of set the pace and put myself in the best position to run sub 16, that I could do it. I feel like I'm in the best shape I've ever been in, the strongest, the most confident I've ever been. So I've really just been trying to each meet make the most of each opportunity and really just trying hard and continue to push past them. This weekend was really fun because you really look forward to Rimrock. That's where you run state, and it was a really fun experience just getting to talk to all the different schools, see all the competition, and yeah, it was a fun meet for me and my teammates.
Before we get to more on your individual performance, Jackson, I do have to ask, as a runner, how much does a lightning delay or some other sort of unexpected delay mess up your preparation? Or at the very least, how does that alter your sort of preparation going into a meet?
Yeah, it's just about staying calm, being patient, keeping yourself warmed up a little bit, trying to keep yourself confident, being ready to run, and really just, calming yourself down is the most important part. Remembering what your goals are and really just reminding yourself, that you're here to run. So the plan is to run, and if it doesn't get delayed or canceled out, then I want to run. And that's always been my mindset, is every single week I want to try and, put myself in a race, push myself to my limits, and give myself the best opportunity to come out with a win.
We're speaking with Jackson Escabel, a senior runner for Shawnee Heights Cross Country, our Lewis Toyota Male High School Athlete of the Week, after he picked up a win at Rimrock Farm this past Saturday with a time of 15:57 to win that event. And you mentioned, Jackson, that you feel like you are in the best shape of your life right now. Did you do anything in particular during the first part of this season and obviously the offseason as well to get to this point? Or is it something you've noticed just progress over time all the way from freshman year until now?
Yeah, I feel like it's a mixture of both. It's been a long progression. I've been lucky enough to stay healthy throughout all these years. And the more experience you get, the more confidence I've gained. And it's just been really cool to kind of see the results continuously improve. And throughout the summers, I've been able to increase mileage. I've been able to get in some fun races with some friends and teammates and go to different distance camps and altitude. And that's really helped, focus on the aspect of running in higher altitude so that when you come back, home, it's much easier and you're more adapted and you continue to just build up your stamina, build up your, strength. And the more stronger you get, the more results are going to come. So you just keep working hard. Consistency is key. And I feel like as long as I am putting in the necessary work each year and improving little by little, the results continue to come. So just keep getting stronger, continue to progress, and I still feel like I have a little ways to go. So I don't think I've reached my full potential yet. So that's exciting.
Jackson Escabel of Shawnee Heights Cross Country is our guest, our Lewis Toyota Male High School Athlete of the Week. And Jackson, as we look ahead now to the rest of your senior season for Thunderbirds Cross Country, what were some of the goals that you set for yourself when this season started? And how do you think you've done accomplishing those so far? And what's still left on that list?
Yeah, our team has lost to a couple seniors throughout the years that have been key factors on our team. And our team's kind of in a development phase. So really just building a culture here that by the time I'm gone next year, they can kind of continue to build on that and continue to build around each other and help each other achieve their goals together. And for me individually, I think just stepping into that leader role, and that's kind of been one of my true goals from freshman year on, is just being more of a leader, being more of someone who is a role model, who you can see put in the work, and that inspires others to put in the work as well. I feel like goals-wise, I want to run under 16 as much as possible. I think the goal is just beating your personal best and continuing to knock off the time. I think I'm in good enough shape to run under 15:30, and really, I think this is the most confident and the strongest. Like, I know I've said those words a lot, but those words really do ring true when it's just improving just the little things that could make that much of a difference. So just continuing to be consistent and believing it, seeing it, and you can achieve it.
So the last thing I've got for you then, Jackson, and you just mentioned that this is your last go-round with your Shawnee Heights program. You'll be on to something else starting next year. Have you done a lot of thinking or a lot of considering what you want to do for any potential post-secondary education or anything you want to do after high school? And do you think cross-country and or track is going to be a part of that?
Yeah, I do plan on running in college. I haven't decided what schools yet. I'm going on different visits right now and really just trying to enjoy this senior season as much as possible, trying to see how much improvement I can make and continue to stay healthy. Post-secondary, I want to possibly go into communications or exercise science, and I want to, of course, continue my running career as well. So being a student athlete is important to me, giving as much effort in the classroom as I do in sports. And I want to be successful at whatever I do. So just continuing to work hard. And
Well, suffice it to say, I think that is a pretty darn safe bet. Our Lewis Toyota Male High School Athlete of the Week is Jackson Escabel, a senior runner for Shawnee Heights Cross Country, coming off of a win at Rimrock Farm in Lawrence this past weekend with a time of 15:57. Jackson, thank you for the time today. We really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us. Appreciate it, and best of luck to you the rest of your season and wherever your cross-country career takes you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That is Jackson Escabel, as well as Avery Zimmerman, our male and female Lewis Toyota High School Athletes of the Week. We've got 1 hour left on 580 Sports Talk, and it's coming up next. now, final hour of 580 Sports Talk on a shortened Thursday edition of the program. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. He's Dan Lucero. The two of us are with you for the final hour of the show today. And we've got a bunch to get to. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up here in just a moment. We've got today's What Is Wrong With You? And we'll talk to Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for today's Azura Credit Union Wildcat wrap-up. All that coming up, and of course, Royals pregame beginning at 5 o'clock here on the Sports Voice of Kansas and your home for Royals baseball, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. First pitch set for 5:40 today. Jonathan Bolin making his Major League debut coming up tonight. He will open the game for the Kansas City Royals. Of course, we are welcoming your thoughts on anything we're talking about today on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. And the YouTube comment section open as well. Our YouTube stream, video, live, every single day we're on air, can be found over at youtube.com/@580 Sports Talk. Or if it's easier for you, just go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. We're the first result. Make sure you're subscribed, and then you can check out all of our video content over there as well. Breaking news, in fact, from earlier today on the YouTube stream. Dan, using a different camera angle today, moved the camera.
Yeah.
Now a little more of a downward trajectory.
Yeah, that's going to be a little more flattering for me, I think, rather than seeing the underside of my chin. You're now just seeing more of my face. Also, better angle for the light. I have people ask me all the time, hey, Dan, what hat are you wearing? Happened yesterday, in fact. This angle is going to be able to kind of show you, give you a better look at what logo I might be sporting on my hat today.
And shirt, too.
And shirt, yes, because I'm always wearing cool shirts.
Wow, someone's full of their shirt collection.
I am full of my shirt collection.
I'm kidding.
Much money as I've spent on those suckers, those things are cool.
No, that's fair. That's that's for real.
And listen, you've got a cool t-shirt collection, too. And yours always tend to come through a little more. Yeah, you got a champion.
National champion.
Yeah, I'm a champion.
Yeah,
today
champion
too,
Wednesday here.
Yeah, that's right. So just something a little different. I thought, a little bit better angle. We'll see how it goes. Camera hasn't fallen down yet, so
no, it's working.
Yeah,
it's looking good.
We'll keep it rolling.
Why haven't we done this earlier?
I got no idea, brother. I don't know. I looked at it yesterday and said, I'm going to change camera angle tomorrow. And then I remembered to do it.
It works.
Yeah.
Works perfectly.
Hi, everybody.
So all of that coming up, including Dan's camera angle, in this final hour of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get to our headlines for today. A couple of really big ones. Let's start with the biggest one from the sports world today. It's September, and we're talking NBA? Huh? No, but for real, the biggest story in the sports world today, Damian Lillard has been traded. Finally, it has been a wait all summer long to see where he would end up.
Jeez, all summer long, nonstop. We've been hearing about it, and finally it's done. I assume he got to go exactly where he wanted, and now Damian Lillard's on the Miami Heat, right?
You might need to sit down for this one.
He is
not headed to the Miami Heat.
Oh, no.
If I was going to pick a comparison for Miami anywhere else in the country, where we're thinking like Miami, we're thinking like LA, like good weather, party city, things like that. No, not LA. Still on the East Coast. No, not on the East Coast. Well, it is near a coast.
Yes, there's a beach.
Yes, a large body of water is nearby his new home, except instead of an ocean, it is a lake. It is Lake Michiguma, better known as Lake Michigan. Not Chicago, though, folks. I wish I'd be in a much better mood today than in the Bulls.
Hey, Dame time. How do you feel about bratwurst?
How do you feel about Central Time, Dame time?
How do you feel about the Miller Brewing Company?
He is headed to Milwaukee. Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. How about that? That came out of nowhere. There had been some chatter about Toronto recently. Maybe they were going to get in the mix. Obviously Miami. But no, Dame is headed to the Milwaukee Bucks. And amazingly, they really didn't have to give up all that much to get him. Really not. So it's a three-way deal with the Blazers, the Bucks, and the Phoenix Suns. All right, so here is what the deal is going to look like. Portland is sending Damian Lillard to Milwaukee. That is the centerpiece of the trade. Portland, in exchange, is receiving guard Drew Holiday, center DeAndre Ayton from the Suns, Toumani Camara, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I had no idea who that is.
I watched a decent amount of the NBA. I have no idea who that is.
Never heard of him.
They are also receiving a 2029 unprotected first-round pick from Milwaukee and then a pick swap in 28 and 30. The Suns are getting Yusuf Nurkic, who is, I think, tops out at nice player. Like, if you're a good team and you have him as like a fourth option, that's a nice fourth option. He'll be the Suns' best big man. Him and Bol.
Yes. So,
go
ahead and finish the details of the trade.
Yeah, the Suns are also going to get Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, who has never been anything, and Keon Johnson, who I also don't think I know who that is.
Played at Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Kind of a big guard, 6'5" guard.
That's the most I can get.
Him and Little, probably pretty similar players.
Yeah. And that's it. Like, those, only one pick is straight up moving and 2 pick swaps 6 years from now. And then a bunch of players who you're like, yeah, that's a good player, but like Drew Holiday has only gotten worse since Milwaukee won a championship. And I was talking to Jake about this earlier. He said, well, man, he's so good defensively. If he's just okay offensively, he really hasn't been. Like, he's a great defender, but his offense has been so bad. He's still probably in that negative this past year. Grayson Allen's like, whatever. Like, sometimes he has a nice game. Sometimes he doesn't. He's
Sometimes
just kind of there.
Kicks people in the nads or dives at their knees or bites their ankles.
Yeah. Like, he's
more often it's those things than him actually helping his team win.
He's like a little ferret on the court. Like, not really missing anything there. I mean, this is great for Milwaukee. Milwaukee wins, going away here because they just added another superstar to go with their established superstar.
They had 2 years to convince Giannis Antetokounmpo, their best player, commit to us for the long term because Giannis has a player option for 2025-26, which means he could be a free agent 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So Milwaukee's looking at this as we've got 2 years where we know we've got a top 3 player in the world. And traditionally, it has been very hard to convince those players to stay in, frankly, cities like Milwaukee.
Yep.
That's not a knock on Milwaukee. That's just like the history of the NBA we're talking about here.
Sure.
So you've got a 2-year window with a top 3 player in the league who you've already won a championship with. So there's proof of concept in Milwaukee, right? You can win a title if Giannis is your best player. The core around him lost in the first round of Miami last year. And so when that happens, you got to shake things up, which they did. They fired their head coach. And now they move Drew Holiday. Essentially, this is Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard. That's how they're kind of looking at it. They're not worried about the picks. They don't control any of their first-round picks for the next 7 years.
They've gone full Rams.
Yes.
Only in a sport where you only have 5 players on the floor at one time.
You've got a 7-year window where you control all your picks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't trade like a 2038 first-round pick. Like, that would be ridiculous.
And you also can't straight up trade a pick in back-to-back years, but you can do the swaps.
Yes, you can do pick swaps, but you can't like flat out trade your first round pick in back-to-back years. That's the Ted Stepien rule, which is one of the funniest rules in the history of sports because they had to make a rule to protect the owner of the Cavaliers from himself because he was so bad at his job. But for the Bucks perspective, it's Damian Lillard instead of Drew Holiday. And Damian Lillard is certainly a more famous player than Drew Holiday and a better scorer and a better three-point shooter and a better playmaker, I think. Mm-hmm. But Drew Holiday's defense was so important to that championship winning team that the Bucks had 2 years ago. And I'm not sure that they replaced that with Dame time on their team. Dame time is not defense time. Dame time applies to one side of the court, not so much to the other side. So it is interesting, certainly. But, I mean, what's going to excite a player like Giannis more? Having Drew Holiday on his team or having Damian Lillard, future Hall of Famer, on his team?
It's also worth noting that at one point, Damian Lillard said if he could team up with another superstar to get to the finals, he would want it to be Giannis. He said that on Twitter 2 years ago. Also, the new lead assistant for the Bucks is his former head coach, Terry Stotts, who by all accounts, he had a really good relationship with. If I remember correctly, he didn't want Terry Stotts to get fired a couple of years ago, and then he did, and things have only gone downhill for Portland since. So it makes sense. The only thing here is I don't get why Phoenix got involved in this. What did they do here?
They got rid of DeAndre Ayton, which was something that they probably should have done last year instead of giving him the big contract that they ended up giving him.
Miserable player.
Yeah. Horrible vibes.
Yes.
Like, the Suns obviously they're all in on stars, right? They got Kevin Durant at the trade deadline last year. They have already acquired Bradley Beal. So
Devin Booker.
And they've already got Devin Booker. So they've got 3 super duper stars, like incredible players. And now you got to try and flesh out your bench because you're paying those 3 guys so much money that there's but so much you can do to add to your bench realistically. So they're trying to flesh out their bench because if you watched the playoffs last year, who did the Phoenix Suns lose to?
The Nuggets.
Thank you very much for reminding me that they lost to the eventual NBA champion Denver Nuggets in 6 games. And the only reason that series went 6 games is because Booker and Durant went Super Saiyan for games 3 and 4 and just didn't miss a shot. Booker went 20 of 25 in game 3. It was impossible to have lost those games if you were the Suns. But they lost that series in the end. Denver had real functional playable depth, and the Suns had Landry Shamet. And that was kind of the difference between the 2 teams. So they're trying to flesh out their bench. Grayson Allen is probably a better player, NBA player, than Landry Shamet. At least he can guard somebody.
Yeah.
Although a lot of times, again, Allen guarding somebody is him kneeing somebody in the groin or kicking them in the back or doing something else that's not exactly within the rules of basketball.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an upgrade there. And Johnson and Little can get on the floor of an NBA game. I don't think they're helping you in the playoffs. I still think the Suns' problem is they don't have enough 16 game players. They got a bunch of 82 game guys that help you in a regular season be good, but they don't have enough 16 game guys. But their whole reason for doing this was getting rid of DeAndre Ayton. They couldn't stand to have him around anymore. He didn't get along with the head coaches. The fans didn't like him. It didn't seem like guys liked playing with him. He was a complete non-factor in the playoffs last year. You're not getting through the West if you can't do something against Nikola Jokic. And DeAndre Ayton could do nothing against Nikola Jokic. So they acquire, instead, Yusuf Nurkic. And the only functional difference defensively between Ayton and Nurkic is that because they are good friends and former teammates, Nikola Jokic will feel bad about the gigantic numbers he puts on the Suns center instead of not feeling anything about it. The numbers he was putting up on Ayton are going to be the numbers he puts up on Nurkic. It's just he's going to feel a little bit bad about it because he's buddies with Nurkic.
Yeah.
That's the fundamental difference. I don't think, the Suns have acquired a bunch of, I think they got Gabe Vincent from the Heat, which was fine. He's a fine player.
Yeah.
They did get Bol, who the internet loves, and who's 7'3" and 109 pounds. I don't consider them a threat.
No, they're not very good.
I don't consider them a threat, even with the 3 super duper stars in the lineup. I don't consider them a playoff threat. But the Bucks sure are. I mean, Lillard and Giannis, and if they can keep Chris Middleton healthy, I think they've got a nucleus that can absolutely win the East. They're going to be considered the favorites of the East. They were the 1 seed last year, and a Bucks Nuggets finals would be so much fun.
It would be,
and I hope we get it.
Yeah, good for the Bucks. I mean, I'm a Bulls fan, but I have no feelings about the Bucks. I have none, except that their fans have a meltdown better than any other fan base. No, NFL, MLB, NBA. I can't really speak to hockey. Bucks fans have the most nuclear meltdowns over nothing all the time, and it's awesome. Go for a walk, take a breath, have a sip of water. They have great meltdowns, and now with another superstar, they're going to be even better. That's my one thought about the Milwaukee Bucks.
Text from the 402 asking if that's Landry Shamet slander you hear. Yeah, it sure is. He stinks.
Yeah,
cool
there's player.
There's a reason.
Cool story.
82 game player. The quintessential 82 game player. If he is in your rotation in the playoffs, you are not winning anything. And case in point, he was in the Suns rotation last year, and he had 1 quarter where he made a bunch of shots in game 4 where the Nuggets refused to guard him because why would you guard him? Other than that, he was completely unplayable in that series.
There is a difference between being having a good career and being a team's and being a difference maker. Landry Shamet, by all reasonable accounts, has had a great career.
82 game players and 16 game players. 82 game players are the guys that, you lean on them to play 18 minutes a night in the regular season. They might help you dig out of a trench against a lousy team in the dog days of the season in January and February. They've got one skill where maybe they're a real good defender, or maybe they shoot the 3. But those 82 game guys help you over the course of 82 games win more games than you lose. But then you get to the playoffs and everybody's rotations shrink, and you better be a 16 game player. You better do the things that win in the playoffs. You better be able to make plays against the other team's best guys if you're going to come off the bench. And Shamet can't do that.
No. Yeah, that's big news today. Damian Lillard, Milwaukee Buck.
One headline for me we'll get to, because we got a lot to get in this final hour, and we'll go ahead and get out of headlines after just one for each of us. But today, Michigan State made it official. They have fired head football coach Mel Tucker with cause. They have fired him in a statement that accuses him of bringing ridicule to the university.
Yeah.
The statement said the university has terminated Tucker's contract, quote, for his admitted and undisputed behaviors, which have brought public disrespect, contempt, and ridicule upon the university and constitute a material breach of his agreement and moral turpitude. There was a letter a week ago that was issued from the athletic director to Mel Tucker saying that they intended to fire him with cause. They gave him a week to respond. He got really aggressive in his response, basically saying, well, I bet you got some skeletons in your closet too. And the university was very unimpressed, and they fired him today. So $79 million remaining on Tucker's contract. Obviously, firing with cause means they would prefer not to pay him any of that money. They're going to see each other in court.
I hope he doesn't get a single dollar. He's a creep. He's a bad football coach, and he doesn't deserve it. I'm sure he'll get something because Michigan State will want him to just go away. See, this is the cycle that programs get themselves in that get them in all sorts of trouble, because now you lose historic coach Mark D'Antonio, who, historic, different than like Woody Hayes was historic, but he won a lot of games.
Yes, and
a lot of success.
That is the best version of the Michigan State program in the modern history of Michigan State football. Like, you can go back to, frankly, Michigan State's great advantage in like the 60s and 70s when they were a top flight program. They integrated faster than a lot of teams.
Yeah,
that was a huge help for them. Bubba Smith, guys like that. So in the modern history of college football, Michigan State football's never been better than it was under D'Antonio.
They made a playoff. They won a Cotton Bowl. Like, they had lots of success. So you go from that to falling off a cliff with Mel Tucker, giving him way too much money, an absurd amount of money. Turns out to be a creep, along with being an embarrassingly bad coach. Now you're going to have to pay him, even though you fired him for cause, you're going to end up having to probably pay him some kind of settlement money, unless the courts really deem, man, he ain't got a chance. So you're going to have to pay him something. Then you're stuck in a spot where you've got to find another coach. And if you can't find the right one there, possibly on a slightly more shoestring budget, because you got to pay the old guy who sucked, you get stuck digging yourself into a deeper and deeper hole. It's not the same as Kansas, for example, which was far worse. I mean, Michigan State's never going to get to that point in all likelihood. But that's how you end up hiring David Beatty, because you spent a lot of money on the last guy. It didn't work out. You had to get rid of him. And then, well, no money. Sorry. Michigan State, as you may have heard, their athletic department and university in recent years, a lot of lawsuits they've been dealing with. Maybe it says, hey, we can't afford to pay for a superstar head coach. We can't afford to go poach the next big thing. We might have to settle for less.
Michigan State's whole thing in this is, even in your pushing back against the things you're being accused of doing, you're admitting to those things. You're admitting to the behavior that is the cause, that is the grounds for terminating your contract. So we'll see how that goes for Mel Tucker. I don't think it's going to go particularly well.
I wouldn't think so. I'm glad he's gone. He deserved to get fired.
Hey, real quick, before we do go to break, the Chiefs did just drop their participation report from today.
Yes.
We knew that Noah Gray and Nick Bolton were DNPs today. Bolton working with that ankle. Noah Gray was sick. Chris Jones limited today, listed with a groin injury. He was limited along with Kadarius Toney with a toe injury. Patrick Mahomes, full participant, along with a whole bunch of other guys.
Yeah, a gigantic number of full participants. The Jets also released their report. Defensive back Tony Adams, reserve guy, hamstring, did not practice. Guard Wes Schweitzer, concussion, did not practice. Offensive tackle Mekhi Becton and running back Breece Hall, both limited, as both are dealing with knee issues. So not super bad for either of these teams. 2 limited, 2 DNPs, and everybody else full go in practice today for the Chiefs and the Jets. That'll do it for today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. What is wrong with you? Coming up on the other side of the break. Plus, we're going to talk to Tim Fitzgerald later on this hour, right here on 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you time here on 580 Sports Talk with Brendan and Dan. Our current winner for the week in What is Wrong with You is the woman down in Florida who got belligerently drunk, whizzed in her pants while lying on a bench. Police came, tried to get her to settle down. They called her husband. He tried to get her into their car to go home. She freaked out, jumped out of the car, pantsed her husband, and was eventually taken to jail for disorderly conduct. And so sick of her, you know what? Her husband made her stay in jail
for 12 days. 12 days before he paid bail.
So funny.
Honey, I'm a little short.
Yeah, sorry. Shouldn't have. Maybe I would have money to bail you out if you hadn't pulled my pants down in front of all the cops. Sorry. Actions have consequences. What is Wrong with You, as always, is brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, who cuts the metal you need to your specifications, saving time, money, and material. Never settle when it comes to metal. Top City Metal Supply can be found on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field. Dan, why don't you go first with your story today?
We're staying in state for this one. We go to McPherson, where some guy shot a kid in the arm with a bow and arrow.
What?
Yeah, first grade student is recovering after being struck by a stray arrow while on the playground at Roosevelt Elementary School. McPherson School Superintendent Dr. Shiloh Vincent said a man was target practicing with a bow and arrow about half a block away from the school. The arrow missed its target and hit the 7-year-old in the arm. He said the student was rushed to the nurse's office. Emergency crews called. All students moved into the building. There was quickly determined there was no active threat to students or the school. The child was transported to the McPherson Center for Health, then taken to Wesley Medical Center in Wichita. They are expected to make a full recovery. The man contacted authorities who were on the scene, told them what had happened, taking full responsibility. Nehemiah Scott was booked into the McPherson County Jail for aggravated battery and aggravated child endangerment. It is unlawful in the city of McPherson to operate an air rifle, bow and arrow, slingshot, BB gun within the city, except within the confines of a building or structure from which the projectiles cannot escape.
Why are you doing this by a school?
You better be really good. You better be so good you don't ever miss the target. And even then, I don't know, shoot the other way.
I feel like he did get some real velocity on this, though, if he's half a block away and hit a kid.
Yeah.
First grader's not very big.
I'm guessing this isn't like a child's toy string bow and arrow here. I'm guessing this is legit. This might be one of those like you have a trigger.
Yeah.
This might be like
not one of those ones with the little suction cup at the end.
No,
of it?
not a little suction cup. No, not one of those. I just, what's in that direction. Like, I don't know, face the other way, or do it indoors, or don't do it at all.
Yeah, don't do it at all.
Yeah, don't do it somewhere safe. You don't break the law, and especially don't do it in the direction. Like, you have to see that there are kids in that direction.
Yeah.
Like a little spatial awareness, please.
It's unbelievably bad. My story today is going to take us to London. There's a lot going on here. Buildings rarely, this is the writing of The Guardian, rarely look as good as the airbrushed architect's visualizations produced to persuade planners to grant permission. Wow. Extra sharp highlights and plausibly blue skies and deeper colors are all part of the dark arts of computer-generated rendering. But the gulf between what was proposed for an apartment complex rising 23 stories above the Thames River in southeast London and what was actually built has finally proved too much. Because after counting 26 major deviations from the original planning permission that it granted, the Royal Borough of Greenwich has taken the extraordinary move, unprecedented, it said, of ordering that the developers of the Mast Quay 2 development pull it down. A 204 apartment high-rise building that has been completed and has had people move in and are living in it deviated from its plan so much that the city is now telling them you have to tear your building down.
Imagine if the Texas Rangers had to do the same thing with how different their new stadium looked from the renderings. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw this story. That looked like it was going to be a palace with these big clear windows, and instead, it just looks like a big shed.
They had to tear it down.
Imagine.
The visualizations before the planning permission was granted was over a decade ago and showed a standard piece of contemporary residential architecture with details intended to render an otherwise blocky project as easier on the eye. What is built, however, is far more rudimentary and in parts resembles stacked shipping containers. There have been complaints from locals adding that some of the buildings occupied a bigger footprint than allowed, and there were missing facilities, such as those needed for disabled people. This was supposed to include, obviously, accommodations for the disabled, park space, greenery, playground areas for local children. Nah, they just said we're going to build this big, blocky monstrosity, and we don't care about the permission. So the people of Greenwich said, bet. And now they got to tear the whole thing down. The residents of 204 apartments now have to find new living arrangements.
Nah, that's foul. That's foul. They gotta let it stay up because those people need a place to live.
Yeah.
You can't do them like that. It might be ugly. It might be an eyesore, but I don't know. Figure out a way to dress it up. Plant some trees. I don't care. Don't kick those people out of their houses, man.
So yeah, we've got a double what is wrong with you here, one in each direction. They screwed up the plan so badly and just said, screw it. And then the city said, okay, well, we're going to make all your residents homeless now.
Yeah, that's wild.
Can't do that.
No.
Can't do that. Who you got?
Jamoke shot a kid with an arrow.
Yeah, just so dumb. So easily avoidable.
Imagine being the parent getting that phone call. Like, that was what my wife said. My wife's the one who suggested this story to me. She saw it last night, and she asked me if I had seen it. And she said, this should be a What Is Wrong With You? And I agreed. She said, imagine having to make that phone call and getting that phone call. Yeah, your son got shot with a bow and arrow at school today. They were out playing, having fun with their friends at recess, and then I got an arrow sticking out of their arm. Imagine.
Insane.
A dope.
Absolutely insane. Yeah, that wins today. Does it take down our woman who went in her pants and then pulled her husband's pants down?
The 12 days in jail detail continues to be the funniest part of that story until there's anything funnier than that. And I guess nothing is, because we got to do our monthly championship the next 2 days.
That's true.
So I guess that's going to be our champion for the week.
Yeah. Our championship coming up Thursday semifinals, Friday finals.
That's right.
So that is our weekly winner in What Is Wrong With You. The doing it all woman who pantsed her husband. She is our winner for What Is Wrong With You. Brought to you by Top City Metal Supply, which you can find on South Topeka Boulevard. Tim Fitzgerald joins us next. It's 580 Sports Talk.
It's a big Kansas State victory.
Oh, you know it's a big Kansas State victory because we're talking to our good friend Tim Fitzgerald, the publisher of GoPowerCat.com. It's part of the 24/7 Sports Network and the best place to find all the best coverage of all things K-State. Make sure you're also following GoPowerCat on YouTube and their increased video presence over there. Plus, make sure you're following Fitz on Twitter. His handle is @LifeOfFitz. Fitz, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Doing well. Doing very well. Thank you so much for asking. And things went pretty darn well for the Cats this weekend as well, knocking off UCF. Little hairy for part of the game, but they pull away. They end up winning by 2 scores, score 44 points. Hard to complain about that. And hard to complain about a local kid maybe being the greatest running back of all time as well.
Yeah, it was a really good third quarter for K-State. UCF came out and took the lead there on their first possession, and kind of the scenario that's given K-State problems is, you let the other team have the ball to start the second half, and all of a sudden, maybe they get back-to-back possessions and you fall behind early in the third quarter. But they responded. They scored the next 23 points and got into a comfortable situation. But you're right. Junction City's DJ Giddens was really impressive. And, as good as he was carrying the ball 30 times for 207, the fact that he caught 8 passes showed how invaluable he was to that entire offense. He was targeted 10 times, so 82 plays and 40 of them were going to DJ Giddens. Yeah, he carried the load. It was amazing.
What did you think of the passing game in this contest? I don't think it was, the sharpest that Will Howard has ever been, and I know no touchdowns through the air, but the ground game and Giddens were so good, you didn't need that factor as well. What did you think of the pass game, and do you feel like it's still progressing at the rate it needs to progress for this team to get where it wants to go?
Yeah, the receivers still aren't as involved as you'd want them to be. Keegan Johnson continues to nurse what we think is a hamstring injury. Hopefully he can get cleaned up here during the off week. And yet RJ Garcia also go down, and that was a hamstring from what I'm told. So they were a little bit nicked up in coach speak, but I think they'll be healthy going to Oklahoma State. But half of their targets from Will Howard throwing the ball were tight ends and running backs. And I think that is taking what the defense gives you, but also the reality is the receivers aren't as available to their quarterback as one would hope.
Are you at all worried about that development and that progress for the wide receiver group and their involvement? I know we still have 2/3 of the season left. And again, Howard can be better, and he's been pretty good up to this point. Are you at all worried about that development, or is it just something that you figure once everyone gets healthy, it'll show up?
Well, actually, I've been kind of worried about it for a number of seasons now. I just don't think they have the matching talent at receiver as they have at other spots on the field. That's an area that has a lot of overturn with their coaching staff. That's been people coming and going. And I think they got the right guy right now in Matthew Middleton, but the solution probably is going to come on the recruiting trail more than anything else. But they can be better. This group can be better than what they have, certainly, and they need to get there, as can any group on this team. But really, I think the receivers have a lot more they can give.
Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com is our guest here, joining us for the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. Fitz joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline every Wednesday at this time on the program. You can check out he and his staff's essential K-State coverage at GoPowerCat.com and find Fitz on Twitter at LifeOfFitz. Tim, Desmond Purnell is a local kid. He's a Topeka right here in our backyard, Hayden Catholic High School, and he was a player that really stood out on Saturday. Chris Kleiman said he was one of the players of the game for K-State on defense. It's a linebacker core now that obviously they're going to miss Daniel Green for the rest of the season. Austin Moore's got some experience, but they're leaning on a lot of young guys or guys who haven't had to play a lot or gotten to play a lot due to injury. How important is Purnell to that group that maybe lacks some of the experience and the athleticism at the spot that you'd like to have otherwise?
It's really interesting to me because remember last year they moved Khalid Duke to that outside linebacker spot, the Sam spot, because they didn't think Des Purnell was quite ready. Well, he got himself ready, and he got himself, and to be a pretty regular contributor on that defense, a starter, and then he went into the off season and put on like 25 pounds of muscle. He looks like a totally different guy, and he has also taken a lot more weight onto his shoulders with Daniel Green gone. And I think being more involved in the defensive calls and getting everyone lined up made him a better player. He's an incredibly intelligent guy when you talk to him, and personable, and he's just turned into a really good, rock-solid linebacker for K-State. And I think these two guys we're talking about really sum up Kansas high school football. Then most of their gains seem to come at the college level. We see a lot of high school athletes come out in states, Texas or Florida, and maybe even Oklahoma, where they have more exposure to coaching year-round, weightlifting year-round. They can just be football players. In the state of Kansas, everyone wants, multi-sport athletes. And I really feel like Des Purnell is now catching up to his peers from other states, and he's going to be a big-time linebacker through his career. But now that they've had to kind of move to Jake Clifton and Austin Romaine at that middle linebacker spot, losing Daniel Green, he's going to be more and more involved in the thinking part of the defense, and I think that's a good move. I think he's going to be well equipped for that.
For the second straight week, there were some splash plays that really bit Kansas State, big chunks of yardage, particularly on some third downs. Obviously, there was the 69-yard flea flicker touchdown as well, which, sometimes you just get rock, paper, scissored on a trick play, and that's what happened there to K-State. But what must this defense do moving forward to make sure that they are less susceptible to those splash plays? Because in drives where they haven't given up those big 20-yard chunks, they've done a pretty good job getting off the field.
It's easy to say guys are making bad reads and going to the wrong spots, and it's true. On one of the long runs, Austin Romaine, brand new in the game, as a starter, he just simply went to the wrong spot. Running back went right past it. And when I asked Chris Kleiman this exact question, he says, you got to trust your eyes and trust what you've seen. They study all this stuff. They show them this in practice, and then the guys aren't associating that to what they see in the game always. They're not seeing it as clearly. So I think with experience, some of this will be cleaned up. Marquise Siegel on the back end has gotten fooled a few times. But as Chris Kleiman said after the game, only falling for one of their trick plays is a pretty good day against UCF because they throw a lot at you.
Looking ahead, I know that Chris Kleiman said that after the game that you're not thrilled to have an early bye week because you have to play a bunch of weeks in a row in the second half of the season. But do you think that this is an appropriate time for K-State to kind of get themselves healthy, kind of catch their breath a little bit, consolidate some of the returns of some of their injured guys, and give themselves a chance to be a team that hits the ground running after this bye week?
I think the accurate answer awaits a couple more games. You'd prefer to have the bye week right in the middle of the season. So after they've gone to Oklahoma State and Texas Tech over the next couple of weeks, we'll see if they're beaten up and, they look like a team that really needs a bye week. Going 8 straight weeks of football in the Big 12 Conference isn't easy. They're already digging into some depth. It's showing up on special teams where now they're thinned out because guys have moved into the lineup. But I think they'll be healthy heading into Oklahoma State for the most part. I think Daniel Green's season-ending injury will be about the only one lingering out there. The offensive line should be in pretty good shape, and the defense should be coming around. So if they could stay healthy, which is not easy to do, this team could really go on a run here between now and the time they go to Texas in, week 9.
Couple more questions for Tim Fitzgerald, the publisher of GoPowerCat.com, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk for the Azure Credit Union Wildcat Wrap-Up. Fitz joins us every Wednesday at this time. Make sure you find his work at GoPowerCat.com and 24/7 Sports. On YouTube, their channel is called GoPowerCat, and on Twitter at Life of Fitz is where you can find him as well. One final thought about UCF, Fitz. How do you think their team speed compares to what K-State will see the rest of the season?
In the upper grouping of it. Texas will probably be faster. I think they're maybe one of the top 3 fast teams in this conference. Seeing them in Missouri basically in back-to-back weeks is a shock to the system. That's a really fast team. They're going to win a lot of Big 12 games. They're just going to outscore you. They've got some defensive issues as K-State exposed and some tackling issues. They're not great tacklers, and they need to clean that up. But I think that's an upper half team and a conference this year that honestly isn't very good. And they're going to just start lining people up and beating them. I think they've got a big game this week and that they need to go win. And, we'll just see how it pans out for UCF over the course of the season. But with the Big 12 kind of in the state it is right now, I think that was one of the better teams on K-State's schedule in the conference play.
All right, last couple things I've got for you, Fitz. Number one, with no game on Saturday, what is your plan going to look like?
I'm going to watch football, a lot of football. I'm a little upset that the Big 12 doesn't have an 11 a.m. game, and then they've got like 3 2:30 games or something ridiculous. I don't know how TV execs expect good ratings when they schedule against each other in the same conferences like that, but I'm just going to soak it in. I might even pop over to Junction City on Friday night to see another possible K-State player from that city with Junction City and Michael Boganowski being at home.
Darn good player. Off to a really good start this season, too. Last thing for you, Fitz. On the basketball side of things, new contract for Jerome Tang. Signed yesterday. 7-year deal. Rips up the 5 remaining years on his first contract. Ties into Manhattan through 2030. A raise, a well-deserved raise, obviously, after going to an Elite Eight in his first year. I know this was a no-brainer, and there had been talk about this for months at this point. Anything really stand out to you about that new contract between Jerome Tang and the Cats?
No, other than the fact that it gives him, more equitable pay for what the kind of job he did in year one. As I've always said, I'm not a fan of year one new contracts, but what he did really deserved it. Nobody expected that. Nobody saw that coming. And to go to the Elite Eight and win that many games was just, so far clearing your bar of expectations. It warranted it. And I think everyone at K-State agrees. Wins and losses aside, the guy is an incredible cultural fit for Manhattan, Kansas, and hopefully, I think the fan base in general wants these two head coaches to stick around a very long time, and they look prepared to do so.
Well, and two, we've spent so much time in the last couple of years talking about the Big 12 brand and wanting the schools that are in the Big 12 to have these strong brands, so they're attractive for one reason or another. I mean, the front porch of your university being athletics, I think some people kind of misconstrue that point sometimes, but like Kansas State was getting songs to go viral. They were getting, was it Lil Baby or Da Baby?
It was Lil Baby.
Lil Baby. Okay. Yeah. One of the babies, got him, back on top of the charts. It was like, they were the thing.
The Wabash is in NBA 2K24.
Yeah. Like that, to have someone who helped perpetuate that so quickly. Like, how do you not try to lock that down long term? That's why I think this was, in a very obvious move, honestly, well before last season even ended, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's remarkable. I mean, he's just done this unbelievable amount of energy. Guys, he's everywhere. He's in Arrowhead.
He is everywhere.
Off in New York. He's sitting on a couch on campus talking to students. It's unbelievable. He just is a nonstop motion, and he's just a great fit. People around here just adore him. I mean, he's a very good man, and I think he's an outstanding basketball coach. He gets it. He gets how to build a program, and that's really important.
Tim Fitzgerald is the best of the best when it comes to covering all things Kansas State Wildcats. Check out GoPowerCat.com. It's part of the 24/7 Sports Network. As you know, Dan and I both VIP subscribers. Absolutely worth it, no doubt about it. You can find Fitz on Twitter as well, at Life of Fitz. Make sure you're checking out the Go Power Cat channel on YouTube as well. Go subscribe there. Fitz, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the off week, and we'll talk to you soon.
And I'm now going to be a rapper named Whiny Baby. So there we go.
Next in line. Thank you, Fitz. That is Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com. I'm not like completely lame, but I'm also fairly lame. Like, I don't know. It's one of them.
The baby is incredibly canceled. So, yes.
Oh, we're out on debate.
We are way out on debate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We're out.
I'll explain it to you during the break.
Okay, perfect. With that, let's get to our final break. Shortened edition of the show today, so we'll take a time out, get to the final word, then Royals baseball here on 580 WIBW. Wrapping up a short edition of 580 Sports Talk with a real quick final word before Royals baseball. Dan.
Final word for me today is that Chris Kleiman went on a radio interview, Sirius XM, Big 12 Radio, or with their Big 12 program, College Sports Radio, whatever it was, and said unequivocally, I will not be a candidate for the Michigan State job. I'm sticking in Manhattan. So no worries about that. If you're a K-State fan, Chris Kleiman's not going anywhere. He's certainly not going to East Lansing.
My final word for today, Travis Kelce addressed the Taylor Swift stuff on New Heights and said, hey, look, private life, I'm going to keep it private, wanted to address this. And you know what? I agree. We should not have to talk about this anymore because he has requested privacy, and I think he and Taylor Swift certainly deserve that. So I will be abstaining for any further conversations about the matter. That does it for 580 Sports Talk. Royals baseball is coming up next. We are back tomorrow, just Dan and I, following the Royals-Tigers series finale, whenever that is, until 6. So for Jake LeBon, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. This is 580 Sports Talk. Royals baseball is next.